as we pause to honor the memory of Harry Scott, we'd ask that you would comfort his family in their time of loss. And now, God, we ask your blessing upon this race. Grant us a safe race with your hand of protection upon each driver, course worker, and crew member, and help us to remember that all good things come from you. Amen.
Now, to honor America, please welcome Doug Allen as he performs our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
When we get back, Lee Diffie and the team will lead us to green here at Watkins-Glen for NASCAR XFINITY Series Racing.
I love the month of August for the Xfinity Series. It is literally the greatest month of racing you could ever ask for. There's nothing like road course racing.
We have 3 road courses. They're fun, it's something different, and there's so many fans that turn out.
I love road course racing. It's something that we don't get to do all the time,
I thoroughly enjoy the challenge of going to these road courses and doing well.
A lot of opportunity to kind of do more with what you have and really prove yourself.
A lot of time made and lost on a road course racetrack by very little things. Realizing what those things are is going to be very important.
You really don't know what to expect, and it's just fun as a driver.
Welcome to NASCAR Xfinity Series Racing on NBCSN from Watkins-Glen in upstate New York, presented by Shell Rotella. And this weekend is one of the most enjoyable race weekends you could ever go to. Yes, we've had some practice and some qualifying, but it is time to go racing at the Glen. And let's go down trackside. We kick things off with Dave Burns.
Lead championship leader Elliott Sadler is in a bit of a bind. His car is qualified 20th, which means roughly half the field is in front of him to start the race. On the good side, it makes their early race strategy very clear. Do the opposite of what the others are doing up front. Kelly?
Brennan Poole finished inside the top 10 in all 3 road course races last year. How'd he do it? Well, in a word, patience. And now with that experience behind him, Brennan told me he came to the Glen with more confidence than ever. He expects to be mixing it up with the Cup guys today. He'll do it starting 13th, Marty.
Well, Kelly, it's been an incredible 7 weeks for William Byron with wins at Iowa, Daytona, and Indianapolis as well. So what was he doing with his off time during those 7 weeks? Getting ready for this race. He told me that today will be his biggest challenge of the season. He said, I'm just not good at road course racing. 2 goals, no mistakes, and a top 10 finish. The simple ones for William Byron, Lee.
And Marty, he's really trying to improve. He may have said that about his road course racing, but his actions speak louder, don't they? He's really trying to be better, and it's a very big day for him. First one in the Xfinity Series on a road course, and we look forward to see how that progress goes. Time now to go back down trackside for the command.
Race fans, it is time for those most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command, please welcome our Grand Marshal, retired FBI Special Agent Wesley Wong.
May we never forget all those poor souls we lost on 9/11. Drivers, in honor of the men and women who protect and serve this great country, start your engines.
4700.
What a sweet sound that is. Hi folks, Lee Diffie filling in for Rick Allen, who is in London at the moment with the World Track and Field Championships alongside Steve Letarte. Great to be back with you, Steve. One of the big storylines about this race today, it is packed with Cup regulars, Cup stars, Cup champions. Is that good for us from an entertainment standpoint and bad news for the Xfinity Series regulars, or it's a win-win?
Well, I think it's a win-win. I think it's going to be a great show. 8 Cup regulars starting the race today. They took the top 6 spots, but 3 names really come to mind. Brad Keselowski, Joe Logano, Kyle Busch. They've been the talk of the garage, the fastest cars in practice, but I don't think it's about all Cup stars. Look at Justin Allgaier, the Xfinity star. He has been in the top 10 his last 10 road course starts. Perhaps he could upset all those Cup stars today.
And might want to get one back that got away from him last week in Pocono. And look, we're here. We're here at the Glen, the legendary Watkins-Glen. And this track is not only historic, it is fast.
It is. It's extremely fast. It is historic. It is one of the fastest road courses you're going to ever see. Some sweeping corners, momentum, very important.
And we've got something special for you today, folks. If you were with us for the Cup practices earlier in the day, well, Steve and I are up here in the booth, but we're very pleased to welcome in MRN's and SiriusXM satellite radio. You'll hear him on NASCAR Channel 90. That's the bagman, Mike Bagley. He's in the S's. Parker Kligerman is a little further around the track. Parker is over at the carousel. And Jeff Burton is further around again at Turn 6, where we know there's going to be a lot of action today. But hey, welcome to the NBC team, bagman.
Thank you, Lee. Glad to be here. You mentioned the legendary Watkins-Glen. It's one of the most famous addresses in all of motorsports, and it is a fast racetrack. And that speed begins at the bottom of Turn 1. When you hang that hard right and you go into Turn 1, you are still continuing a downhill run into Turn 2. That's the first right-hander. Here's the blind climb up into turn number 3. That is a left-hander. If you get crossed up here, things can go awry very quickly. We've seen time and time again somebody get turned around and all of a sudden the cars come piling in because there's no runoff room. And then that leads to turn 4 to the back straightaway, which ultimately leads to the bus stop and our Parker Kligerman.
Right, Bagman. They'll be approaching me at over 170 miles an hour as they get on the brakes, the hardest braking zone into the inner loop or bus stop, where we see a lot of passing. It's a great passing zone. Here you see Kyle Busch there going on the inside, but a lot of times drivers get it wrong too when they go to pass here. They'll hop the curves. You see the 12 car getting all 4 tires off the ground, and then you see the 2 car there in the grass. It's very dangerous to find yourself in the grass. There's a lot to be gained by hopping over those curves, but there's a lot to lose if you go too far. We're going to see some incredible action down here in the inner loop and into the carousel, Jeff.
Yeah, and outside of that carousel, Parker, that's when we've seen a lot of action. You have to carry a lot of speed. You have to be in the gas, carrying tons of speed. But with that comes accidents. And we've seen big accidents on the exit of the carousel. Unfortunately, I was in one of these. The exit of turn, the carousel, you see right there, Sam Hornish in the tire barrier. Jeff Gordon and myself, we piled in. There's just nowhere to go. You're going so fast, and it's very difficult to see. So, unfortunately, these are incidences we've seen on this racetrack. This is not the only one of these we've seen in this area. Such an important place to carry speed because it leads to the long back straightaway going into turn 6, which is a great passing zone.
Jeff, thanks very much. Isn't that a sight? Watkins-Glen on a very festive weekend. Cars are rolling. We're going to go racing. NASCAR on NBCSN when we return. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Shell Rotella, the heavy-duty diesel engine oil. Ford, we go further so you can. And by Credit One Bank, the official credit card of NASCAR.
Joey Logano works his way through 6 and 7 through 6 and back through 7, looking for his 25th career win, his 26th career win in the Xfinity Series. Joey Logano's going to win at Watkins-Glen. Logano wins at the Glen again.
Hey guys, road course win. All right, yeah guys.
Watkins-Glen International, your winner, Joey Logano.
As we welcome you back to the Glen, let's take a look at today's starting grid, brought to you by Shell Rotella, and it will just slide on through at the bottom of your screen. Meanwhile, we need to go and find the 48 DC Solar Chevrolet for Chip Ganassi Racing with Felix Sabatis. The driver is Brennan Poole. Steve, dial him up.
Hey, Brennan, Steve Letarte up in the NBCSN booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Well, Brennan, it's road course month here in the Xfinity Series with 3 road courses this month. Last year, 3 top 10s in all the races. What do you contribute your road course success to?
Well, I think really the key of these road course races is just keeping the 4 tires on the pavement all day. Just try to stay out of trouble and be smart. I think it's going to be a little bit different this year with the stages. Just going to have to see where our pace is at, where we're running, and maybe mix it up with some strategy to continue our string of top 10 runs.
Well, Brendan, you mentioned strategy and the stages. That surely will take the pit stops into a little bit of chaos when you come to pit road. Is that something you worry about from behind the wheel, or do you let your crew chief Chad Norris handle all of the strategy?
Well, I told Chad this morning I was putting it on him to make the decision, but you know, I got all the trust in the world in Chad, Caitlin, my engineer, to make the best decisions and put us in a spot at the end of this thing to get the best finish and maximize on our points. We've had a good car, had a good long run car all yesterday in practice, so feeling comfortable where we're at, and just hoping to have a good day in this DC Solar Camaro.
Well, good luck to you, Brendan. I want to thank you on behalf of the NBCSN and all the fans for giving us great views, especially that helmet cam. It's going to be a great view around this historic road course.
And Brennan is starting back on the 7th row. Reasonable qualifying job. We'll see what the 48 can do today. And giving us a view like that, we have to say thanks. The aerial coverage is provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. Time now to check in with our man on the ground, Rutledge Wood.
Lee, the big difference here is pit road. Normally when a driver comes into his pit stall, he is closest to the wall. This week, it's opposite. He's actually farther away because of how pit road works. What that means is your sign, everything else here for the pit box is reversed. So Landon, who would normally be on that side of the pit box, is actually over here when he's coming. Most teams have the fuel filler on the passenger side of the car. A few teams that didn't have the money to swap it, they had to keep it on the driver's side. So everything that the team goes through here, these guys all have to work on that process. Their practice, it's the car going the opposite way, but everybody's got their same job, same front and rear tire carrier, everything else. But this is going to be one area you really got to pay attention to today, Lee.
Rut, thank you very much. As we take a closer look, Steve, at today's 82-lap race.
Yeah, it gets broken down into 3 stages. Basically, it's 200 miles. Both of the first and the second stage will be 20 laps. The final stage, 42 laps. Fuel window, 28 to 32 laps. But I would expect teams to go a little bit farther. If they got some yellows, they perhaps could extend it. Pit strategy will be chaotic. We'll try to cover it throughout the day. But basically, the goal is try to pit early, get tires, get fuel, and get a little lucky, have that track position at the finish.
Joey Logano on the pole for the 3rd successive year. Will it be his 3rd consecutive victory in Xfinity Series competition here at the Glen and create a little bit of history? Lights are off on the pace car. Field assembled, grouped up. This is the Zippo 200 at Watkins-Glen. And it's time to bring the action. Front row of Logano and Busch. And Joey on the inside will take turn 1 cleanly. Kyle goes alongside. It's door to door through turn 1. Kyle Busch is not having anything of it.
Side by side into turn number 2. Logano doesn't want to give it away, but Busch has the advantage. He'll grab the lead. Logano falls to second. Kyle Larson, Paul Menard, and Brad Keselowski the front 5 as they clear turn 4 in the S's for the first time and set up for the bus stop.
Yes, you see them right now coming in, the leaders into the inner loop. You're surrounded by fans on both sides of this great racetrack. Kyle Busch gapping Joe Logano a little bit as they go through the inner loop. He's been one of the best cars through that section all weekend as he gets a run off of the carousel. They're gapping Joe Logano just a little bit more, using all the racetrack on the exit, Jeff.
And Kyle Busch doing a great job on the start of the race, taking control right off the bat. Going to be hard to pass him now. Hard braking into turn 6, a left-hander, gonna set up, swing wide, get yourself set up for this turn 7. Now is a passing opportunity. If Logano can be close enough to Kyle Busch, he can potentially try to pass him in turn 1.
This is a passing zone lead, but a very, very difficult one. You head downhill into turn 1. Very easy to get wheel hop as you see back in line. That 22 of Brad Keselowski jumps out of line to the inside of Paul Menard. He'll try to clear him before he hits turn 2 and climbs the S's.
Battle for the number 4 position is there. Keselowski took it in turn number 1. Now as he starts his run up to the S's, he'll pull away and try to focus on Kyle Larson and a battle for 3rd. Menard, though, not letting him get too far away, and as they race their way to the back straightaway, it's all single file formation trying to get set up for the bus stop.
You see the 22 of Brad Keselowski just put a little bit of a block there to hold Menard off. You'll see that throughout the day. Just protect the entry of that corner, not allow another car to get inside of you. You saw the 42 of Kyle Larson get really loose into the carousel. You'll see that throughout the day as well. A lot of cars, a lot of drivers struggling with that entry in the carousel and getting the power down off the exit.
No surprise we're seeing Brad Keselowski make a move already. We talked about in practice how fast they were. Everybody in the field talking about both the Penske cars as well as Kyle Busch having the fastest cars. So as he tries to make the move up to Kyle Larson, again, trying to get to turn one, great passing zone.
Ford Performance on-board camera with Brad Keselowski making tremendous progress in the early opening two laps of this race. Kyle Larson, the next one on his list.
And it looks like wants that third position, and he wants it very quickly. Right now, Kyle Larson's mirrors are filled with one Brad Keselowski. He lays back at the bottom of the S's, but once he climbs the hill, makes the run through the short chute into turn 4, Brad Keselowski is on the back doorstep of Kyle Larson, and this is where Brad does best, Parker, the outbraking, getting into the inner loop.
Exactly, riding on the credit one bank on board there. You saw Brad Keselowski gain on Kyle Larson a little bit into the bus stop under brakes, and that is where Brad Keselowski has been so good in that 22 car throughout this weekend. Under the brakes, very stable, making up a lot of time and able to kind of keep with the 42 as they exit the carousel down to you, Jeff.
Still not close enough to make a move, though. Both of them equal through the carousel. You can see Keselowski make a big move on the 42 car, on corner entry, but can't do anything with it. It's just too tight. This is a tight place to pass. Wisely decided not to do it. Going to try to use the speed off of turn 7.
I think he has a big run right there. Kyle Larson realizes the moves to the inside of the racetrack will concede the position to the 22, Marty. I think the 42 knew he was beaten and tried to protect against the 2.
And Steve, I think that's one of the challenges of being here at Watkins-Glen. Both Joey Meyer, his spotter, and Brad Keselowski were saying we're way better than the 42, but that's one of the challenges of this racetrack. It's hard to make a pass here, and you saw Brad Keselowski finally be able to muscle his way around. Parker, as they make their way back over to you, you could almost see that 22 was a little bit better. And look, already he's pulled away from that 42 car.
Yeah, he's got his eyes firmly set on the 12 car of Joe Logano, his teammate and the leader, Kyle Busch, right now. He seems to be one of the fastest cars on the racetrack at this time. You see Kyle Larson just struggling with that rear end right now. He's just not able to get that rear end planted in the racetrack as well as he'd want, and that's why the 22 is gapping him, as we're seeing, and going towards the leaders, Jeff.
Parker, the key to road racing is setting the guy up for the pass. Having speed on the corner prior to the corner where you actually need to make the pass. So you can see right here, Paul Menard is all over Larson. He needs to be able to try to break even with him and then build momentum off the corner to try to make this pass into turn 1.
But Lee, you have to be careful on how much you want to defend, push the issue in braking, and someone can get into you in the braking zone.
And how much you want to use those brakes too early. But the 2013 winner is Paul Menard, executes the move on Kyle Larson. The 2013 winner, Brad Keselowski, is the big mover in this front pack. And as he's taken off, oh, and we've got an incident. The 23 is in the wall. Spencer Gallagher has spun. Problem with the rear left, as you can see that. How did it occur?
See if you can back up enough. Back up.
Final corner. The team's asking him to back up so he doesn't have to make an entire lap on that flat tire. That's the final corner of the racetrack there. Off from turn 7, the last right-hander. Not a lot of damage to the car. Your concern here, though, is that flat tire. A brake line, Lee. Those can catch a brake line and make more damage. So I think we got a view of what happened here off the final corner. Well, this is earlier. This is in the
inner loop. Aha, that's how that tire got cut down. The 14 of J.J. Yaley.
Yeah, and then you see, as you mentioned it, the damage from earlier finally cut the left rear tire. Spencer does a nice job looping it around, but not making contact with the inner wall there, backing it up and getting onto pit road. Now the team just needs to take its time, make sure there is not more damage than just the body work. They should have a lot of time here. The pace laps here at Watkins-Glen take a tremendous amount of time to get around this slow road course under yellow.
And remember our stages. The stages in the race today. 20, 20, 42 to the finish. So early caution in this opening segment. You're watching the Zippo 200 at the Glen, NASCAR on NBCSN. NASCAR Drive is NASCAR.com's live race day companion, now available on your mobile device. Select your favorite camera angle or driver with in-car video. You can even watch multiple angles all at once. Never miss a lap with NASCAR Drive. Visit NASCAR.com/drive from your PC, tablet, or mobile device as we welcome you back to the Glen. Still under caution here for the first time in this Zippo 200. Dave Burns.
On pit road, Kevin Harvick, the first strategy play. They will get 4 tires for him and a full load of Sunoco fuel. The driver did report that the car was also incredibly loose. That's a big word, meaning get this thing fixed up for me.
And Kevin had a significant moment in qualifying that didn't put him up as high on the grid as he would have liked. Let's see how the 41 performs when we come back. Through the Geico restart zone, and we're back at it here at the Glen. The Zippo 200, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano. Busch locks up big time and gives Logano an opportunity on the inside to turn 2.
And he doesn't waste any time, Lee. Down to the inside comes Logano, trying to squeeze down to the inside, but Busch is strong up through the S's. He'll clear turn 3. He'll reclaim the lead with Logano right behind him. Brad Keselowski in 3rd. You've also got Menard and Larson rounding out the top 5. As they come down here into the inner loop right now, that lock tire could be an issue for Kyle Busch, but it wasn't. And actually, Joe Logano complained before this restart of just being a little bit tighter than that 18 car through the inner loop, trying to compete with him as they go through the carousel here. Gets a little bit of a run on him as they get to the exit. Can he carry it here as they put the power down? It even seems like he maybe is not able to get side by side, Jeff.
And Joey Logano had a big run, though. I thought he could get side by side, couldn't quite pull it off. A little surprised at the outside lane that Kyle Busch fit there. He was controlling the pace and picked the outside, made it work, but have to wonder if he's going to change his mind on the next restart.
Well, Logano keeps the pressure on Kyle Busch, and I think that's the plan. If you can't pull out too fast, just continue to chase the driver into the braking zone. Perhaps make the 18 make a mistake.
And look at Justin Allgaier right here in the 7. He clears Kyle Larson nicely, and on the inside is Daniel Hamrick as well.
Stacked up from 6th position on back. What a move by Allgaier at the end of the front straightaway to grab that spot, that is, and climb his way up through turn number 3. but his work may not be done because they are lined up behind him. You got Larson there. You've got Daniel Hamrick who slides wide coming off the corner, and that leaves the inside line open momentarily for Ty Dillon, who'll start a run to the inside.
Well, you're going to see this throughout the day. Drivers getting that little bit of run, getting the position on the entry of the inner loop, and then being able to hold off that car and not let them get as they get through the rest of the inner loop and go through the carousel here. As you see, Ty Dillon might start to gap on the 21 car. And the 7 car there's been fighting a little bit loose, but the car behind him, the 42, has been even looser throughout this race going backwards, Jeff.
Yeah, that was a really smart move by Daniel Hamrick to give that spot up. We saw cars side by side in the inner loop. Bad things can happen with that cut tire earlier with Spencer Gallagher. So smart move, just moving out of the way. A little surprise, Kyle Larson backing up this early in the race.
Did you see through the inner loop the 9 of William Byron tag the 62 of Brendan Gaughan? It was a little bit of push and shove. That's normal there, though.
That is normal, and we mentioned this at the top of the show. There's a lot of Cup guys in the race, but these Xfinity regulars need good runs, need points. They're trying to make the playoffs as well.
You guys riding on board with Kyle Larson. His car was very free early on, but now a bigger issue with that 42 car. He said it feels like the engine is stumbling, like he might have gone down a cylinder, and then coming down the front stretch last time, he said the car is definitely down on power.
You can see that, Marty, right there. The 3 just drove by him down the straightaway and outbraked him into the bus stop there. So definitely an issue for the 42 car right now. And it's going to show up most on that straightaway. And as he comes off the carousel here, he's going to put that power down but not be able to keep up with that 3 car if he's suffering from an engine issue right now.
Yeah, certainly won't hurt him in the turns. We saw him be able to keep up on the carousel, but down these long straightaways, they're just going to eat him up. And you have to wonder the disappointment right now. If they are having an engine problem, you run this race if you're a Cup guy to get experience for tomorrow. If you don't have full power, you're not learning near as much as you would hope to learn.
Doing a nice job, though, keeping up the momentum with that lack of power.
So Kyle Busch, half a second lead over Joey Logano, about the same distance back to Brad Keselowski, Paul Menard.
They climb through turn number 3 and 4. They head to turn number, turn 4 and the back straightaway. Kyle Larson, or make that Kyle Busch, was feeling the pressure for a moment from those Team Penske drivers, but right now he's starting to leg it out, especially in the bus stop.
Yeah, and I'm watching that 22 car stalk the 12 car, and as you see the 18 spark all over the place over the curbs, I really think that 22 car is coming in a hurry. He's going to be able to gobble up the 12 at some point here as they come off the carousel. He's right on the 12 right now and just seems to be one of the best cars through this section of the racetrack.
These 2 drivers, they have battled it out for the win here. Always are competitive, very fast at Watkins-Glen. 2 teammates at Penske work very well together, but big aggressive move. I thought Keselowski was going to make that move in turn 7, decided not to. They're trying to set him up going into turn 1.
Steve, I was talking with Kyle Petty about this a little earlier. The teammates on screen, the 12 of Joey Logano, the 22 of Brad Keselowski. Speaking with Brian Wilson, crew chief of Joey Logano, said it's really interesting with these 2 guys. Their philosophy about the setup of the cars at this track is different. Joey wants to base the car's setup to get through the inner loop most effectively. Brad likes the car set up for right here, through the S's and through the carousel. What did you do with your drivers when you were crew chiefing?
Well, I always thought that the S's were the most important because they led to what I think the hardest place to defend, which is entering the inner loop. If you couldn't get through the S's, you were just a sitting duck. There was nothing the driver could do. He would just has to carry speed in there. Now the driver, on the other hand, he has some options on how he gets through the inner loop, how he gets through this long sweeping turn of the carousel. You heard they're not right back to the gas. They're very patient back with the gas. And Brad Keselowski has done a nice job, but he seems frustrated and had enough of Joey Logano. He's going to complete the pass in turn 6.
He worked him over there fairly effectively, didn't he? And Joey knew that he couldn't really fight it.
When you look at these 2 cars, I seem to love the 22. It doesn't look out of shape. So he has good pace, but at the same time in control, Lee.
Kyle Busch still leads, but guess who's coming? Brad Kay. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. Coors Light. Whatever your mountain, climb on. And by Shell Rotella, the heavy-duty diesel engine oil. Kyle Busch leads the way. We got some news on the 42 of another Kyle. Kyle Larson, tell us more, Marty.
Diff, they are pushing the car to the garage area for Kyle Larson. There you see behind pit road. And indeed, it was an engine failure. They said it feels like a valve spring. And obviously what Jeff mentioned, not going to learn very much for Kyle Larson being out on the racetrack, laying down oil. So obviously they're going to park it for the rest of the day for this 42 team.
Yeah, disappointing, as Burton mentioned. You know, all of these Cup guys are in the race to get laps, to get rhythm, because this racetrack is only once a year and there's a lot of details. So as we ride on board with the 42, the Credit One Bank on board, you see the smoke out of the 42 in front of him. Excuse me, that's Brennan Poole, the DC Solar on board. You know, the Ganassi cars had me spun out 48, 42. I had one in the same. And unfortunately for Brennan Poole, he saw his teammate in front of him with a puff of smoke out the pipe. That's never good for a race car driver when you see somebody that has the same equipment as you break.
So the Cup list goes down from 8 to 7. Here is the 9 of William Byron. We mentioned a little earlier, a bit of push and shove through the inner loop. Time now, let's listen in on our spotter communication from the 9.
Well, we're definitely coming up through the S's and down into the bus stop much better than we're getting down into 1 and 4.
Yeah, I think those guys see it, so they're just putting it out there and getting them a little nervous.
Yeah, we won't let that happen now.
And that was our spotter coverage presented by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less. What did you make of that, Steve?
Oh, as we see the leader.
It's gone. He's around.
Go ahead. Good right there. Just into 1.
Rejoins in front of Paul Menard and Erik Jones. What happened to the 18 at turn 1?
Yeah, spun out. Wheel hopped it in, I guess.
This is a corner that you cannot take lightly. I know these guys make it look easy lap after lap, but you see with almost a 2-second lead, he goes down into the corner and literally just spins out on his own. It's that difficult to get the car slowed down that hill into turn 1. The rear tires get very light. It's easy to lock them up. Marty?
And Steve, now begins the strategy. We saw Kevin Harvick pit a little bit earlier. Here comes William Byron down pit road, was running 14th when he came down pit road. 4 fresh Goodyear tires. William doing a good job of keeping it on the track so far, but this is a long stop for that 9-1. Long stop.
It is a long stop, Marty, but I expect pit stops to be longer than normal. Maybe not that long. That would be an exception. But this backwards pit road, as Rutledge said at the top of the show, driver out away from pit wall. The pit crews have to work backwards. Very difficult, just out of sorts. It's just a totally different approach to pit stops.
Steve, turn 1. Going into turn 1 is so difficult because it's downhill. So as you're driving into turn 1, the front tires have all the weight on it. It's easy to get the wheel hop, as we saw Kyle Busch. Dave.
There is Paul Menard losing a little rear grip on the right-handers, middle of the corner to the exit of the corner. He'll get 4 Goodyear tires and a load of Sunoco fuel, Kelly.
Meanwhile, his teammate Ty Dillon's also coming to pit road. He's been really quiet on the radio, just saying that the balance of his 3 cars just, quote, fine. You see, they're giving him some fresh Goodyear tires, Dave.
There's Elliott Sadler on pit road as well, getting his 4 tires and fuel, and it'll be a good stop for the 1 car.
As we watch the 1 come to pit road. Oh, the yellow comes out.
Caution is out for the 2nd time, and it's for the 14.
It's blown up.
JJ Yaley. And I'm pretty sure I heard him say we're blown up.
And I think that might actually have cost the leaders. I'm not sure Keselowski, Logano, Kyle Busch, while pits closed with 2 to go, they would have had the opportunity to get to pit road this next lap. So I'm not sure if this was going to be a hiccup in their strategy or not. We'll have to see, but definitely going to throw a wrench into their plans with only 3 to go. I would assume this yellow right here will probably take us all the way to the end of stage 1.
Yeah, Steve, that's going to put them behind everybody else that had pitted. That's going to be, they're going to have a lot of cars to go through to get back into the lead. So you can see the 14 just out of power, no contact or anything, just no power. Bad place to stop. Probably couldn't turn right to get on the pit road because the traffic coming. Just had to stop on the racetrack.
JJ Yaley was running 25th at the time. Boy, this is throwing a curveball into things.
Well, you know, the one thing I will say, though, if I'm Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, everybody talks about getting to pit road early. I'm looking at it differently. So I'm the gambler. You know me, Lee. I always like to be different. Well, if I'm Brad Keselowski or Joey Logano, I'm only coming to pit road twice. And all these other cars are going to have to come to pit road 3 times. It's simple math. You're trying to break up an 82-lap race. You can go about 30 to 34 laps. So if these guys don't pit, even here at the end of stage 1, run another 10 or 12, 14 laps, they might be able to make the rest of the entire race on one pit stop.
Let's not forget that Denny Hamlin won the Cup race here last year on a 2-stopper.
That's it. I think a lot of guys were taking notes. Those were my notes, Marty. We'll see if any of these other leaders have that idea.
Well, and there's a lot of strategy here. If you don't care about stage points, you know, you could come here. Here's the other thing, Steve. You could stay out until about lap 37 because we've already gotten some caution laps, right? And you could take your tires in just once today. Then maybe at lap 50, you take fuel only. So strategy is going to be all over the map. And the way these cautions have really laid out here so far in this race is going to make it even more interesting for these Team Penske cars who, again, aren't really worried about these stage points. They're worried about the win at the end of the day, and that's it.
Can I ask you something, Steve Letarte? Guy, the big name and front runner we saw stop first was Kevin Harvick on lap 6. He sits 12th at the moment. What do you make of where he sits in the mix of things?
Well, I think he's basically just accepting the fact as you see, you listen. Very little engine noise, perhaps has it shut off, saving fuel. There you go, he refires again. I think what Kevin Harvick with this Hunt Brothers on board, what he wants to do now is stop. He still has to stop 2 more times, but he's decided anyone else that's going to stop here at the end of stage 1, he perhaps could stay out, try to leapfrog them, get some track position back. He was back while he was only 10th when he came to pit road. He was behind all the Cup regulars. So in the race he's running, he felt like he was close to last of the cars he was trying to race against.
A reminder to get NASCAR coverage when you're on the go with NASCAR Mobile. The official app of NASCAR puts race coverage and live in-car cameras at your fingertips, and you can even listen to the drivers and teams discuss what Steve and I were just talking about, race strategy. Download it free at NASCAR.com/mobile. Here's Dave Burns with, I imagine, a pretty disappointed driver.
Well, his motor is quiet as well, but for a very different reason. So, Kyle, did you have any warning that it was going to go?
I don't know. I guess first or second lap I could notice I was down on power. It seemed like the 22 would kill me down the straightaways, and then the 2 also, when he got to me, would beat me down the straightaways a lot. I didn't think anything of it at first, but then after that restart, I could definitely smell some stuff and hear some stuff, and just was letting go, and so yeah, we lost an engine, but stinks for Cradle and Bank. Could only got a couple laps there, so I didn't really learn anything for tomorrow. Haven't really gotten a whole lot of laps, honestly, this week with penalties and all the cautions we've had in practice, so kind of frustrating, but hopefully we'll be all right tomorrow.
Yeah, mysteries remaining for Kyle for tomorrow, guys.
And I guess when we think big picture-wise, too, just the way we saw him going back, perhaps that was the telegraphing moment. There was going to be some bigger problems. Need to talk more about problems. The 18 this time. Let's let you eavesdrop on some radio.
To fire off the start there, they were able to keep up with me because it lacked lateral rear. As the tire temps got hot, the tire pressures came in, and then I just wheel hopped.
Basically what I heard there is our car is a little loose in the back, not a lot of grip on new and cold tires. When the tires heated up, I was fine, and then don't worry about what happened in turn 1. It's totally on me, is what I heard Kyle Busch just say right there. I just wheel hopped, and while he makes it seem simple, he holds himself to the level where he doesn't feel he should do that. It is a mistake, an easy mistake, but still a mistake. When you think about that, 89 wins in this series, never winning at Watkins-Glen. This is a track he would love to get checked off the list.
And it was a mirror image of what happened to the 48 of Jimmy Johnson in the first Cup practice earlier today.
Well, I'm having nightmares because it's a mirror image of what happened to Jeff Gordon in the mid-2000s, Tony Stewart in the mid-2000s, Jimmy Johnson today. If you take the NASCAR Hall of Fame, I think you basically could ask all the drivers they have spun out into turn 1 at some point at Watkins-Glen. It's just a corner that invites you to drive off down in there, and then you crest the hill and think, uh-oh, what now? Now I have to make this right-hand corner.
Yeah, Steve, there's so much speed and being able to attack these corners. You know, if you can attack the corner entry using a lot of brake, it makes the car go faster. So you want to attack those corners. You want to drive into every corner as hard as you can. The problem is you're going downhill. So when you're going downhill, you start downshifting. That puts all those RPMs to those rear wheels, and it's easy to get those rear wheels hopping. Once they start doing that, you have 2 choices. stab the throttle, push the clutch in, one of those can help. But the problem is now you're going even faster. So Kyle Busch just ended up spinning out. Still came out third, so no real big harm.
We mentioned those paid runoffs, though. That's a big difference. Remember, years past, I know you've seen the races from years past where he would be sitting in the gravel. So, you know, no harm, no foul this time, but that's a change for Watkins-Glen we saw a few years back.
And the field is coming to the conclusion of stage 1. This first 20-lap block, there'll be another 20-lap stage for stage 2, and then the final run home will be over 42 laps. So, while Brad Keselowski gets the stage win, we look a little further down the order, Steve, to where the first points will be distributed.
Yeah, we talked about that. It was not just about all the Cup guys. While they did take the top 4 positions, Justin Allgaier in that 7 came home 5th, got some points for his run to try to make the playoffs.
You're watching the Zippo 200 here on NBCSN. Welcome back. You're watching NASCAR Xfinity Series racing from Watkins-Glen, presented by Shell Rotella. And pit road is about to get real busy, and that's where we find Dave Burns.
And Lee, on the radio following his spin, Kyle Busch just simply said, hey, I locked up the rear wheels, wheel hopped the car, and spun it on its own. So the car is really handling pretty well. Kyle, the leader of 16 laps so far today, will get his tires and his Sunoco fuel. Marty.
Leader Brad Keselowski said his car fired off very good, which is obvious. He came up through the field pretty quick. A little too loose in the left-handers for Brad, and really good in turn 7. This is his Cup Series pit crew. Also the same case for Joey Logano. That's not normally been the case. This year, they have not even done companion races in the Xfinity Series, but the Cup Series guys pitting both Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski. Joey saying his car is too tight in the right-handers, too free in the left-handers, in a tight race at Al Pit Road between those two Team Penske cars, Lee.
Boy, hasn't it been a productive day for them. Let's have a look at the race off pit road. Very good for Justin Allgaier and Matt Tifft in the positive. This is going to be a scrap. And we're hearing that the 62 of Brendan Gaughan ran over pit equipment. There goes Brendan, just through that camera shot there. So, is it going to be... Wow. Where has this come from? We're hearing reports the 39 of Sieg
Yeah, you see basically the jack gets dropped, and that's the signal for the gas man to disengage. But it's such a tight opening at times. And remember, he's standing kind of the opposite side. We talk about backwards pit stops. It's backwards for everyone. The car leaves in an opposite direction, something he's not used to, and it catches the gas can and drags it down the pit road. And you see by the weight of that fireman picking it up, still has quite a bit of fuel left in it.
And we're hearing there may have been a pit road infringement by the 18 of Kyle Busch as well. Too many pit boxes on entry.
See, one other thing we talk about, the driver being on the left side, perhaps he doesn't see the corners of the pit boxes. We'll hopefully get a shot of it, but you're only allowed to go through a few pit boxes. He must have went through one too many.
Let's take a look at the stage results presented by Ford Performance. And as we know, it was a Team Penske 1-2. But look down at the first full-time and regular Xfinity Series competitor from Junior Motorsports. The 7 of Justin Allgaier will grab 6 stage points. Daniel Hamrick, he's one of the front runners in the Sunoco Rookie of the Year. Some more good points for him, and Cole Custer as well in the same boat as Daniel Hamrick. First road course event in the Xfinity Series. Kelly.
Well, you see there that Daniel Hamrick did pick up some good stage points there, but when I talked to his crew chief, Danny Stockman, he told me they had a strategy in mind that they were going to stick to no matter what, and that they were not concerned with collecting those stage points. They're looking bigger picture. He said what we're focused on now is the end result, so they made a strategy play. They stayed out when that stage came to an end. He now leads this race.
Well, we were just talking about fellow full-time Xfinity Series competitor Justin Allgaier in the 7. Had plenty of good speed early on in this race, and it has been a strong showing thus far. Can we dial him up, Steve?
Let's give it a try there, Lee. Hey, Justin, Steve Letarte up in the NBCSN booth. You have a copy?
Yeah, Steve, go ahead, bud.
Well, there's been a lot of talk all weekend about those Penske cars and the Kyle Busch car, but you seem to make your way up, finishing the top 5 of that stage. How is the number 7 Brandt Chevy driving so far today?
Oh, man, it's been really good. You know, these guys are doing a great job. Everybody at Junior Motorsports works really hard every week, and this week's no different. You know, this is, it's unique for us to go to a road course. You know, we only get a couple of them a year, so, you know, it's on all of us to try to do our part, and these guys have done theirs, and now it's just a matter of trying to run as fast a laps as I can and keep the fenders on it. You know, the 22, the 12, the 18, those guys have all been fast, but hopefully we can keep working on it, get our Camaro up there to victory lane.
Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to us, and good luck keeping that streak alive. A lot of top 10s in a row at the road courses. We'll be watching.
Sounds good, guys. Thank you.
And Allgaier knows how to get it done. He's a winner in road course competition. He won about 5 years ago at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal. More radio from the 18. Have a listen.
I swear it was 3. So have you seen it? You clipped that box, that 4th box by an inch or 2. I mean, it is so close.
And remember, what they're talking about is you're allowed to go through 3 boxes, not 4, and he must have clipped that 4th box. But you got to remember, Lee, this is something that NASCAR no longer polices by the naked eye. This isn't an official on pit road looking at the boxes. They use that pro camera system. It goes to a trailer where all the videos reviewed. Videos that they feel have an infraction get flagged. Then a human being confirms the violation. It's not all automatic. Once the violation is confirmed, the penalty is assessed. So it can be an inch or 2, it could be 6 feet, it doesn't matter. You're only allowed so many pit boxes. The 18 drove through too many.
And Steve, sometimes when a Cup guy runs an Xfinity race to learn for what he's going to do tomorrow, sometimes it's to learn what not to do, right? That's a mistake. As you mentioned earlier, he's on the left side of the car pitting. He missed it by inches. The pit boxes are on the right side. He doesn't have the same perspective that he has every other week. Well, he just learned that lesson. He won't make that mistake tomorrow. So learning can happen many different ways. Sometimes you learn by making a mistake. Sometimes you learn by doing things right. In this case, he'll learn and won't do that tomorrow.
Getting ready for the restart, and we've got 2 young Xfinity rookies on the front row.
Well, we talk about strategies. Here you go. Daniel Hamrick and Cole Custer have yet to come to pit road. They obviously are planning to do this entire race on only 2 pit stops. They want to run a little bit longer, then get their fresh tires. Behind them, Kevin Harvick, who pitted all the way back at lap 6, then a group that pitted at lap 17, and then the cars that were leading the race at the end of the stage, Keselowski, he's all the way back in 12th. We'll have to watch him try to come up through the field.
2 youngsters, 2 rookies, and look who they've got in their rearview mirror. Kevin Harvick and Paul Menard as we enter the Geico restart zone. Let's go at the Glen. How do these 2 youngsters handle the pressure? Harvick is all over Hamrick. And the rookie, Harvick gets a little loose down into one, gone! Kevin goes around, so too does Cole Custer in the 0-0. Boy, Harvick tried to hang on to it and just couldn't.
Those are both Stewart-Haas racing cars. Cole Custer and Kevin Harvick are teammates.
You could see that drift, and Harvick was trying to save it, and it just got to the point of no return.
And he was crashing for about 500 feet. It just took a long time to finally go around.
Let's go back and have another look at it. You're looking at the third car, 41, white and green. There it goes there, it breaks there. He uses Cole Custer a little bit, and then ends up turning the youngster in the process as well as himself.
Very fortunate no one else made contact, so while the tires might have a flat spot, I didn't see any heavy contact that would have knocked a fender in or anything. You see right here, the 41 is just trying to check up, not to run Daniel Hamrick over. And at that point, it just comes around, like you said, Lee.
That's something you rarely see have Kevin Harvick do. I mean, he's such a good road racer. But think about the strategy. Both of these teams, the Ford pitted earlier, Cole Custer had not yet pitted. Now their strategy is out the window. One small mistake, and now their race is turned upside down.
That was the Hunt Brothers Pizza on board there with Kevin Harvick. Let's get back to it. Daniel Hamrick leads the way over Paul Menard. Elliott Sadler in the 1 is hassling the 3 of Ty Dillon, and here comes Joey Logano in the 12.
Joey Logano giving Elliott Sadler fits, Lee, as they exit turn 4. And here's Logano. Driver's right, pulls to the inside of Sadler as they set up to the bus stop.
It was an easy pass for him down here into the bus stop, as well as the 22 is able to get by there. These are the 2 of the fastest cars we've seen throughout this race, and they're just marching forward on those newer tires through the leaders here. Next that they'll probably gobble up as they come off the exit at carousel here will be Ty Dillon in that 3 car, Jeff.
Yeah, we wondered what tires are going to matter here. You see a battle for the lead. Paul Menard making a move on Daniel Hamrick. It's going to make it look easy, but are tires going to matter? That's the question we've asked all day long. It's hard to know. Remember, the 2 best cars of the race, they also have tires, so it's hard to judge how much those tires are worth.
And we talked about strategies, talked about mistakes. Well, Daniel Hamrick, who's now in the 2nd position, doing a wonderful job driving his own race, not pushing the issue with these faster race cars, staying in the line, staying in the groove, just waiting for his crew chief to tell him to come to pit road. He still has to make his first pit stop of the day.
What's the maximum window, given the longevity of the tires, what's the maximum window on fuel? We'll get back to that. Bagman.
5-car breakaway at the front of the field. 3 of them belong to Richard Childress Racing. 2 of them belong to Team Penske. Last of the field on this restart, and Paul Menard now starting to leg out his lead on the backstretch.
Let's take you back down the field a little further and find the 48 DC Solar Chevy for Chip Ganassi Racing of Brennan Poole. And let's go inside that car because Brennan's got our NASCAR and NBC Helmet Cam. Let's take a ride.
What a view right here, this DC Solar Helmet Cam. He's in the carousel, listen. Part throttle. What I think is kind of funny, how about right here? We talk about the numbers, we talk about the track. Well, a race car driver, track map on the dash to make sure he's communicating well with his team, gets the correct numbers, whether it's a 6 and 7, 10 or 11. A lot of different drivers call things different way, but a very aggressive move right here. Underneath the 62 of Brendan Gaughan, you're going to see an attempted pass. I think down into turn 1, he's going to try to make that again.
All right, folks, we're going to lay out so you can listen at what it is like to attack the S's and the run to the bus stop. Have a listen. Jeff Burton, I don't think it's overstating it that it is brutal. It is physical and it borders on violent.
If done right, it is. That's just how you have to do it. You have to jump these curves. You have to attack this racetrack, and it is violent. But the other thing that I find just unbelievable is as we take that ride, it puts me back into that race car. It reminds me how poor the vision really is, how far ahead you cannot see. That's why we see those accidents. And when you can avoid a wreck, you've done a great job. So you can see that vision. And on this restart with the Kevin Harvick incident, This is how he avoided the incident. Looks way ahead, has to go way left. Did a nice job, gave up a lot of spots, but had to do what he had to do to not get in that wreck.
Gave up a lot of spots, Lee, but remember we talked to him at the start of this race. He finished top 10, all 3 road courses, and he said, listen, the key is staying on the track, keeping the fenders on it. Dave?
On pit road now, Cole Custer. He told the team there was some smoke in the cockpit. The spotters confirmed that there was a little bit of a, you see them pulling on the right rear right there, the quarter panel getting into the right rear tire. So they clear that out, give him 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel.
Sure, that damage was probably from the spin with Kevin Harvick back on that restart.
So the 19-year-old Cole Custer serviced, sent on his way in the middle of this second stage at the Glen. The racing is not only here at Watkins-Glen, it's happening in London, in England, with the World Track and Field Championships, and at 4:45 Eastern this afternoon on NBC. By the way, that's where Rick Allen is today. That's why I'm here with Steve. Usain Bolt's final 100-meter run. You do not want to miss that. The guy has created so much track and field history anyway. He's the best there's ever been, and he's going to run one last time. That is very cool. Now we need to bring you this spotter coverage, and it's being brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less on the track and on the road. Steve, talk about the spotter's influence and impact here at the Glen.
Well, it's very important because, first of all, it takes multiple spotters. They can't see the entire racetrack. But these spotters right here on the front stretch, they're going to tell their driver as they go down into turn one right there to the left, does someone behind you have a run? And just in the volume, just in their excitement, the driver can then decide, is this something I need to block? Do I need to get into the, into the corner deeper? So they're more than just your eyes on the roof. They're also a coach. Where can I be better? Where am I getting beat? So it gets more difficult, though, at this big spread out facility. It takes 2, perhaps 3, sometimes even 4 spotters to get around this track.
Let's talk more about the 18. Here's Dave.
Lee, he's made up about half the ground needed to get up to the front of the field again. And the balance has been very good. Eric Phillips, his crew chief, just said to me, yeah, except for the mistakes, we're pretty happy with this race car. And Lee, I think we put it best in qualifying when someone said, don't throw a challenge at Kyle that he hasn't yet conquered. Now, he's come from the back of the field before, but remember, has never won here in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Going to put on a show now coming through the field.
And look at the progress he's made, up 17 positions from the restart. Hey, talking about progress, what about Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano? They were back around about 10th and 11th, and they've worked their way up to 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah, and we had this conversation, is it tires or is it car? But Paul Menard, the car that they're running down for the lead, only has 4-lap older tires, and I think 3 of those were under yellow. So I don't think he's at a tire disadvantage. I just think that these 2 Penske cars of Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano are the class of the field at the moment. We just heard Kyle Busch back in traffic. We might see when he gets back up there. But currently, they're just running lap after lap that is 3 to 4 tenths of a second faster than the leader.
Hey, Marty, is it going to be the 22 of Brad Keselowski that denies this man a 3rd consecutive victory?
It could be, Diff, and that would be very interesting. No doubt the 2 Team Penske cars are the best here today. And it's funny, Greg Irwin told Brad Keselowski before that last pit stop, he said, hey, I think we're going to be mired back in traffic, but I'm pretty sure we can drive through those guys. Brad's restarted 10th. He was 5th by the end of that first lap after the restart. Joey Logano restarted 11th, and now he's up to the 3rd position, as you can see. Logano saying his car is tight right here through the carousel. That's where he's struggling with it the most, and also in turn 7. Guess where Brad Keselowski is the best? Through the carousel and turn 7. So his teammate a little bit better through him than him through this backside of the course. And Jeff Burton, I don't know if you can see that over there, but that 22 car catching Paul Menard very quickly.
He is catching Paul Menard quickly, but Paul Menard's not going to be easy to pass. Remember, Paul Menard won Road America in 2015, finished 2nd here last year to Logano. Paul Menard is a good road racer, and the one thing this will allow Paul Menard to do is to judge where his car needs to be better. So when he does pit, he can tell his crew chief what he needs to do to make his car better. There are times racing with other cars is a great advantage to find where your car isn't as good as it needs to be. Sometimes you don't know that until you get around better cars. Kelly.
And now 34 laps in, Daniel Hamrick bringing the 21 car down to pit road. Danny Stockman told me their strategy was simply basic. They'd need enough fuel to get to the end. Daniel Hamrick, the rookie, saying that he was lacking a little bit of rear lateral grip, so they plan to make a track bar adjustment. Obviously, give them 4 fresh Goodyear tires, and they got to make sure they get it packed full of Sunoco fuel. He lasted 34 laps on that first run. And what do you think, Steve? They're going for a 2-stop strategy here?
I like the 2-stop strategy, and I like basic. We talk about strategy, but as we see the 90 car here outside, I think that's the bus stop. He's out in that collection area of the bus stop. We'll have to see if he can get the car going or not. This might be a caution. Well, there he goes. He starts to roll again. But I like simple strategy, Kelly. Sometimes you can get a little too creative, a little too chaotic, and make it difficult for the race to be run and run efficiently from behind the wheel, as we have another car smoking on the front stretch.
Stephen
Young. Go up on the skid pad.
And we had cars everywhere.
Pad. There you go.
All I was trying to say is a simple strategy is sometimes better, but these cars kept distracting me, Lee.
I knew what you were getting to.
I was hoping you were.
That's not a good scene for the 78. And so we see the 3rd caution of the day in the Zippo 200.
And once again, this caution coming out, Steve. 6 laps to go before the end of stage 2. This is going to put some teams in some interesting situations. Do you want to stay on the racetrack to try to get these stage points and even a stage win? Or do you want to gamble big time and go ahead and get on pit road and then hope you get enough cautions to never have to stop again? It's going to have some teams trying to make some tough decisions right here.
Yeah, and I think you're right. It has to be considered, but with 48 laps to go, say 47 or even 46, you know, we've seen cars go 34. I expect maybe someone could push it to the mid to high 30s, but to get over 40 laps, I don't think is realistic. So I expect actually the front half of the field to just stay on the racetrack. I think they're all going to go to a 2-stop strategy. The question is, can Paul Menard, the leader, who pitted at lap 17, can he somehow run the final half of this race on one other stop? I think he can. I think he'll stay on the racetrack, but it's definitely going to be perhaps a lengthy yellow, as he looks like he put oil down on the front stretch, Lee.
That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing oil on the racetrack, and I'm also know there's more caution laps coming because of only 5 to go now. So you have a lot of caution laps that you know you're going to get right now who is going to try to gamble big time. I know it's a big-time gamble, but sometimes big-time gamble will have a big-time win.
And obviously Daniel Hamrick, who had just pitted in the 21 with Kelly's report, has lost a ton of track position, but these extra yellows are going to help him as well, who's also trying to stretch it out as well. So under caution for the third time today in the Zippo 200 here at the Glen.
Watkins-Glen International pit road is busy. Pit stops happening for Ryan Reed for tires and fuel. The last time he pitted was the 17th lap under green, Marty.
William Byron coming down pit road, said he's tight through the S's, and then he kind of joked with the team. You know what? I'm starting to figure this out a little bit here at the road course. Obviously, a challenge for this young man. 4 fresh Goodyear tires, a little change to free him up just a little bit. And Steve, this really opens up some interesting strategy. Taking the 4 tires here, maybe you could do fuel only in that next stop to make it to the end of the race.
Well, Marty, I think they're going to have to try to do something, because the problem is, I think that what we see here, the 15, 16, 17 cars that stayed on the racetrack lead, I think they're telling you we're only coming one more time, because they're not going to come at the end of stage 2 in 5 more laps. They're committed.
And with that being said, let's join Rutledge Wood. Rut?
Lee, you know there are so many great places to watch a race here at Watkins-Glen, and they gave the fans an even better vantage point. You can see Seneca Lake behind me, but also you can see all of turn 1 and 2. This is the new S's party deck, and someone said a few minutes ago, they said, I knew you'd be here because you love a good party. But check out the view. We saw that spin with Hamrick and the guys earlier, but everything, you get such a great vantage point here. So many fans that have so much fun out here, guys. And I know it's tough when you're stuck up there in the booth and sit out here with the fans, but I promise you, they are loving this race today, guys.
And look, that's an upgrade to just to a general admission ticket.
Yeah.
It's one of the continual improvements that Watkins-Glen, Michael Printup and his crew here are doing. They've done an amazing job. Since 2010, they've spent $54 million on track and facility upgrades, and it shows. Watkins-Glen looks a picture. And we're going to go around the track with our guys out on track. MRN and SiriusXM Satellite Radio's Mike Bagley is in the S's. Parker's over in the carousel. Jeff's in turn 6. But Bagman, we start with you. What have you been seeing? What's caught your attention out there?
Well, what's caught my attention is the speed of Brad Keselowski and the smoothness that he has shown. Also, it's been very clean here in the S's. All the action's been down in turn 1. However, as the field works their way off 1 up to the S's, we sometimes get a lot of calamity here at Watkins-Glen. We've been calamity-free so far. However, we do have a ways to go. And, of course, once they get off 4 and onto the backstretch, we've been seeing our share of action there, especially Parker in front of you going through the bus stop.
That is right, and it hasn't been me only down here, just like Rutledge, who's down there in the S's. We are lined with fans through the inner loop on both sides, and they go crazy as the cars come down here side by side on the restarts. It's absolutely awesome to watch. But one of the other things that's been awesome to watch is Kyle Busch in that 18 cars. He's coming back to the field. He is absolutely insane over the curves. I cannot stress it enough how crazy he is. Jumping these curves, car is sparking, getting all 4 tires in the air, and then he just wiggles into the carousel and all the way through and just seems to be absolutely on the edge, Jeff. That's great to watch.
Yeah, I was noticing the same thing as he was marching his way up through the field. He's done a great job of getting as far as he has, and he's done it by being aggressive, attacking the racetrack. He drives into turn 6 exceptionally hard, is able to make that corner, and then drives into turn 7 with a big arc and never gets to the bottom until late in the corner. So watching him drive this racetrack has been a lot of fun. You know, sometimes when you get behind, And especially if you're a Cup driver and it's an Xfinity race, it's just a challenge and you go out and you try to make something happen, you really don't have a lot to lose. So I know it's not fun losing that track position, and he wants to make up for the mistakes that he made, but sometimes starting in the back can actually be a lot of fun.
So Jeff, I've been noticing this corner work. Every time we come to you, your scissor lift is higher and higher and higher. We started practice, you were about 10 feet off the ground, and now it looks like you're 3 or 4 stories.
Well, if you saw the chaos over here in these party zones, I kind of want to get into it, but I kind of want to get away from it. But the fans are having a great time over here. They really are. It's a lot of people. It is fun where I'm watching because I can see all these party zones. I got a great shot of the racetrack, and I can see Lake Seneca. That is Lake Seneca. I can see that from here as well. So this is a really, really cool spot. Although, Steve, it's not as nice and comfy as your booth. And I'm envious because it's cold and windy out here.
It's all part of our multi-vantage point or MVP coverage. Let's go back to the carousel where Parker Kligerman is. Hey, Parker, there's a guy up there with you. If you turn around, MRN's Alex Hayden. Alex has worked with us before here on NBCSN with Xfinity Series competition. Turn around and ask Alex what he thinks of his colleague, the Bagman, being on TV. Seeing as how Alex has been on telly before, what's he think of Bagman's debut?
Oh, we'll get into it. So Lee Diffie is wondering, what do you think of Bagman's debut on TV with us here today?
I think it's spectacular. It's Bagman. He's always going to be full of energy.
He has been very energetic throughout the time. You and I have a cool vantage point down here, man. What have you been seeing? I've been seeing Kyle Busch jumping these curbs and such. The fans going wild. Thanks for letting me up here and joining you.
Yeah, it's really a spectacular vantage point, and it gives people an idea just how violent the inner loop is and the curbs that these drivers manipulate. Even though it's daytime, sparks shower from underneath, especially Kyle Busch's car. But to see how high these cars get in the air, jumping curbs, it's part of the fun here.
And Diff, I can tell you, he's been very generous in allowing me to have some room, and occasionally he just gives me an old rib to get out of the way when he needs to look at the cars coming.
Hey, it's good. We're all in it together. We're bringing the best NASCAR coverage that we can here from the Glen. We've got a bad story to tell you if you're a Kevin Harvick fan. Not only did he spin, he has just had 2 uncontrolled tires. We believe it was 2 going outside the lines, and that has not gone unnoticed by NASCAR.
Yeah, and then you see the tire that tries to get returned. It bounces off pit wall. It's coming out. It's uncontrolled. The tire in the front. So they were okay until they brought the tires back, and then whoever was behind pit wall didn't seem to secure them as they should. So it's been a rough go of it for the 41 of Kevin Harvick. Yes, Dave?
So, and they're coming down pit road every time they get now to top off. So you can kind of see what strategy they're laying here.
Yeah, and I think at that point, Dave, that's just being wise. That's Richard Boswell on top of the pit box understanding, listen, we don't like where we're at. This wasn't the plan, but we're here. What are we going to do about it? Keep taking advantage of it. Keep putting fuel in the race car.
So 3 to go until the end of stage 2. The cleanup continues on the front stretch here at the Glen. Back in a moment. You're watching NASCAR Xfinity Series racing from Watkins-Glen, presented by Shell Rotella, and things are about to get going before the end of Stage 2, which is good. We want racing to the end of the stage.
Well, this is going to be a shootout. They're going to take the green. It'll be 2 to go to the end of the stage, and Menard was doing a very nice job. We talked about the speed of Keselowski, but you know, he held his own out there. Now we'll see if he could do it. And this is going to be interesting. You're going to see a lot of dust and debris flying. There was a lot of speedy dry put down on the front stretch, kind of in that outside lane getting down into turn 1.
It's a Ford-Chevy fight across that front row at the restart. I haven't spoken a lot about the 20 of Erik Jones today. He has quietly been there ever since the start, in that top 5 or 6 the whole way. Entering the Geico restart zone, set to finish off Stage 2 with just 2 to go here at the Glen. Let's do it. Great restart, Joey Logano. Not so good, Brad Keselowski. The 12 got a flyer. Menard's under pressure. Here comes Brad K around the outside. Oh, and Erik Jones gets a little nudge. Was that from Allgaier or Ty Dillon?
Brad Keselowski is there alongside Menard for the lead for a moment, but while he tempted the lead, he also left the lane open for Logano. Logano, though, cannot capitalize. Instead, he'll fall back in third. Look out. Here comes Kyle Busch flying around the outside of Ty Dillon. He'll grab fourth, and he's trying to track down the front 3.
The 22 didn't get that good a run off the S's there, Bagman. I thought he might be vulnerable to the 12 going down the bus stop braking zone. And right now the 12 is right on his rear bumper as they go to the carousel. Running a little bit different line. He's going to be able to cut under him maybe here and get the power down. Not quite. He's not quite able to get beside him. Jeffsy, run down to you.
Yeah, Keselowski had trouble in the middle of the carousel. Has allowed the 12-car Logano to get on the outside of him. Tough pass on the outside. Keselowski with the preferred lane. They give each other room. Now the preferred lane is moved to Joey Logano on the inside of this right-hander. Takes advantage of it, takes second away.
How about the 18 of Kyle Busch? He arrives on the scene with a blast.
He absolutely does. What a recovery. And these Penske teammates are trying to play nice, but they better get organized, or the 18 of Kyle Busch will be going by him. He's already got to look to the inside of the 22.
All that rooting and gouging has allowed Kyle Busch to close in from the number 4 position. What was a battle for the lead could be a battle to hang on for second. It's Logano, it's Keselowski, and it's Kyle Busch. And Elliott Sadler has crept into this mix as well. He is the 5th car in line, that blue car that's trying to keep pace with Kyle Busch.
He is looking good right now, though. He's been struggling with that race car at times throughout this race. He hasn't been very happy with it. I'm looking at that 18 car who's been the showman through this section of the racetrack, hopping the curb, sparking there. He's going to be a little higher in the carousel here and try to get a run on the 22 car, just like the 12 of Joey Logano did a lap before as we ride on board the Ford performance of the Keselowski.
Yeah, that time Keselowski got through the carousel better than he did the run before. Was able to keep pace, was able to get ahead of the 18 car. But as these guys race, how about Paul Menard flexing his muscles and saying, hey, I can beat these big names on the road course, actually driving away from Joey Logano.
End of Stage 2, and the win goes to Paul Menard. But I think the story of that stage was the 18 of Kyle Busch and a surging comeback. He was 28th at the last restart prior to this one, and made his way all the way up to 4th. Elliott Sadler, who's also on the same strategy, by the way, as the current race leader Paul Menard, last pitted on lap 17. So, good to have racing to the end of Stage 2. Menard wins that one. This is going to be interesting. 42 laps of racing left here at the Glen. Who's going to get the big win, though? NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less on the track and on the road. Been very fortunate today to have some terrific aerial coverage, and it's provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. We say thank you for images like this. Just look at the infield there. There is something in the vicinity of about 4,500 to 5,000 RVs and campers here. It is immense.
And it feels like it.
Yeah.
You come through the tunnel, the place is packed. There's a lot of energy. It's more than just a great race. The whole weekend long, there was a concert last night, a lot to do.
There's a difference between a race and an event, and folks, this is an event. Hey, whenever you're in a team, whether it's our broadcast team or a race team, you've always got to have a laugh. You've got to have some fun. And let's have a look at one of Paul Menard's RCR teammates kind of hitting hard on him a little bit.
Oh, do you do an impersonation of anyone in the NASCAR community?
I can do Paul Menard.
Yeah, do that. That is pretty good.
That is pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Man, the poor guy's a little soft-spoken, and they pick on him.
Well, he just won his first Xfinity stage of the year, so he has the last laugh at the moment. Now, as you correctly said, Steve, these front guys, they're not going anywhere. They're not coming to the pits just yet. They're gonna stretch this.
Yeah, and there's some cars back in the pack that are trying to make something happen. Just like we mentioned, the 41 continuing to take fuel. Well, the rest of these crew chiefs are looking, and they don't have the track position, so how can we get it? Maybe tires are going to be some value. Maybe fuel will be of some value. So a bunch of teams trying something to roll the dice and gain that track position, Kelly.
Little bit different situation for Ty Dillon, who had restarted well inside the top 10, but dropped way back after some contact with the 20 car, and he suspected that he might have a right rear tire going down. In fact, they had initially called him while the pits were closed. As stage 2 came to a close, he was able to obviously stay out on track. Now they brought him to pit road, 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel.
I think this has worked out very interesting. Different downforce package, yet a softer compound. Same construction, softer compound Goodyear tires this year for the Xfinity cars at the Glen. But the degradation is almost non-existent. There's so much longevity in these tires.
Yeah, it's just, you know, if anything, it seems like they're just a little difficult to drive on when they're cold. You know, the grip is a little bit hard to find. Once they get heat, they're pretty good, but a lot of differencing of opinions on whether you should be on pit road or whether you should be saving fuel. We listen into the 33.
We got to run about 9 more, 10 more laps, and we'll be in our window to make it to the end for the rest of the day. So keep saving me some fuel here. Scenario where you just got to fight real hard for me for about 8 or 9 laps, and I'll put 4 freshers on you. Full of fuel would be good to the rest of the day, but we're in position to capitalize on that track position right now.
We heard right there, they're 9 away. So that answers your questions of cars that were on pit road right here. If we assume they're getting close to the same mileage, they're 9 laps short, which is 18 miles, which is a heck of a driving your car on a Saturday afternoon. Pretty hard to find that much fuel. Not saying it's impossible, but it'd be a big gamble. I think you're going to see a lot of the leaders do what the 33 talked about, run 8, 9, 10 laps, maybe maybe only 6 or 7 for some. But pit road will be busy here very shortly into this green flag run.
So the third and final stage is a 42-lap run. There's 40 to go from here.
My bigger thing is we can talk strategy all we want, but how about speed? All I heard about practice, Keselowski, Busch, Logano. I didn't hear much about Paul Menard, but the finish of that race, that's a shootout. It doesn't get any more of a shootout than that. 2 laps, mano a mano, lined up next to one another, and Paul Menard easily held off those 2 Penske cars.
And we've talked about a race within a race, meaning this is packed with Cup stars. Look there at the orange and yellow number 7, the Brandt Chevy of Justin Allgaier.
Starting right next to his teammate, the one, that blue number 1 of Elliott Sadler. The junior motorsports cars continue to be the class of the Xfinity field.
And considering where Elliott Sadler started, it's been a really positive run. Field entering the Geico restart zone, ready to go again. End of caution number 4, beginning of stage 3. Let's go! Menard and Logano door to door. Keselowski's on the inside. None of the front runners run high, keeping it clean. It's Menard. Busch is trying to push Logano, though, Bagman.
Rooting and gouging Lee as they come into turn number 2. Kyle Busch cutting Logano. No slack, but Justin Allgaier will slide in there. He'll bust up that double battle, or that two-way battle for that position. Allgaier puts himself right in the middle of Busch, but maybe not for long.
And Kyle Busch just threw it down there as they went off into the bus stop. Justin Allgaier had a great run from 6th on this restart to get himself up into 4th place, but Kyle Busch just simply outbraked him as we watched him go to the carousel here. Paul Menard gapping himself on the field, the 22 car there, using all the racetrack and getting a great run down the straightaway.
And remember, Justin Allgaier, he is a road course winner. He won Montreal in the Xfinity Series, so he knows how to run these road courses. Being able to run with Kyle Busch right now, perhaps we've seen Kyle Busch the fastest car on the racetrack, will only make Justin Allgaier a better road racer. Remember, three of these 4 races are road course races for the Xfinity Series.
And with 39 to go, it's about execution on the racetrack and on pit road. All these leaders need to pit one more time as we see Paul Menard once again nice and smooth into turn 1 with the lead.
Everybody's cooled their jets, at least for now, on this restart. That's allowed Paul Menard to shake things out. So is Brad Keselowski. Keselowski has pulled away from Logano by about 5, maybe 6 car lengths, but Keselowski still has 2 to make up on Menard. But Brad, this is where Brad excels. He's got something to chase. That something happens to be someone in the person of Paul Menard.
And I find it odd that 12 car falling back right now. He came across the radio under his last caution and remarked how he had a great short run car, but not a good long run car. And this is when the short run matters, right here, the first couple laps of a restart. But he seems to be losing ground to that 22 car in the 2.
And how about Paul Menard? You said it earlier, Steve. All we heard was Keselowski, Logano, Busch in practice. Paul Menard, he's not only holding his own, great restarts, able to maintain speed, a little bit older tires. So we feel like we keep waiting for Logano or Keselowski to make a move on Paul Menard. Paul Menard's having none of it.
And that 22 has shown so much speed, but Paul Menard is responding. We're leaving the Glen for a moment, but we're going non-stop. You won't miss a thing. Back in a moment. Reminding you, the Premier League returns on Friday at 2:45 Eastern on NBCSN for the first ever Friday night opener in Premier League. It's Arsenal hosting Leicester City. And then on Saturday, your Premier League morning begins at 7 Eastern with Premier League Live, followed by Watford and Liverpool. Boy, there's a lot going on since we were last with you. As you saw in non-stop, new race leader, it's Brad Keselowski. Question is, what's going on with the two? Is he just running on fumes?
No, Paul hit the kill switch, the master kill switch. He said it's too close to the shifter, and when I was shifting, I slammed it.
Oh, no.
Well, that makes more sense because he was only 30 laps into the run, so if he was out of fuel, I was going to start panicking for a whole bunch of cars.
Yeah.
But that makes more sense to the time as we see the 18 of Kyle Busch with a move on the 12 of Joey Logano. Kyle Busch is really starting to exert himself here, trying to prove how good of a car he has.
Through turn 3, over to turn 4. Challenge and change for the number 2 position. Kyle Busch now has gotten around Joey Logano, starting to pull away from him, but he's got a lot of work to do to catch the race leader, Parker.
He does. He has a lot of confidence on the entry there. Didn't even throw any sort of block on the 12 car. Knew he had him gapped coming into the inner loop. And as they go to the carousel here, he's been running a little bit higher line there. You see just a little bit different than the 12 car, and been able to get a great run off that corner throughout the day. The 18 car looks strong right now.
Yeah, Parker, that shot right there, you can see how much racetrack they use on the exit of the carousel. Helps maintain that speed down the back straightaway. But Kyle Busch, how impressive has this been? Got spin to the back, he spun the car, he went through too many pit stalls, as we see the leaders pitting right now.
And Jeff, here they come down pit road, the Team Penske cars. Brad Keselowski got to the lead there with a car that he said was a 7 or 8 loose in every corner on a 1 to 10 scale. So they need to tighten up this race car. The Team Penske car is the first one to come to pit road. Joey Logano, you heard Parker say it a moment ago. He said, we have a very good short run car, but 3 laps into a run, everybody is faster than I am. So they're going to try and free that car up for Joey Logano a little bit. This should be fuel to get to the end, and maybe an advantage coming 1 lap earlier than everybody else. You're going to see the track bar adjustment for Brad Keselowski. He's going to beat his teammate Joey Logano also off pit road, and this is a long stop for that 12 bunch, losing tons of time here on pit road. Again, this is his Cup crew pitting the car today for Joey Logano.
That cost him a tremendous amount of time, but much like the Cup drivers, we've talked about how backwards this pit road is. A good set of reps for the Cup pit crews as well.
Look at this fight going on here. Erik Jones in the turquoise-colored Hisense number 20 for Joe Gibbs Racing on the inside of Justin Allgaier. That was a good scrap. And Erik Jones wins that one for the time being with 33 laps remaining here at the Glen in the Zippo 200. Dave, what do you got?
2-car Paul Menard will be coming down pit road. There he is, right sides and left sides for him in a full load of fuel. Again, no problem with fuel pickup for the 2, just a master kill switch, which he said is too long. They definitely took notes in the RCR camp for next time.
Speaking of stops, do you know how costly that one was for Joey Logano? Stationary in the pit stall, in the pit box, 21 seconds. Typically, if you can execute it, a normal one, the delta for the stop is a 40 seconds. That's coming in, getting serviced and sent. Kel?
And it's just going to be a quick one, Lee. This is fuel only for the 3. Remember, he was just down pit road a handful of laps ago with 4 fresh tires.
So that's basically the strategy, as Kelly pointed out. He pitted at the end of the stage, got his 4 fresh tires, only has 5 or 6 laps on them, so save his pit stop time. You saw only 5 seconds. That's probably a 10 or 11 second game to most of these pit crews.
So on pit stop rotation, Erik Jones being elevated to 2nd. Kyle Busch still the race leader, and Busch has now led for 18 laps here at the Glen. Today, Allgaier 3rd, Sadler's 4th, and Daniel Hamrick is in 5th. That's what it looks like. Difference from 1st to 2nd. It's 5.5 seconds, Bagman.
It is, and that's where the best battle is on the racetrack. Watching this battle for 2nd, Erik Jones and Justin Allgaier. Both drivers very smooth through the S's diff, and now Erik Jones, once he's gotten by Allgaier, he's been able to pull away. Up through the S's now as they race their way to the back straightaway. Kelly?
And now you see the 33 of the young Brandon Jones bringing his car to pit road. He says he's still trying to figure out these road course races, but he's improved throughout the weekend. Meanwhile, the 48 of Brendan Poole makes the fuel-only stop.
out for the final time. The 48 and the 41. So, this man here has shown tremendous speed today, but how is this going to shake out between him and the 22 of Brad Keselowski?
So, Lee, it's almost like we're watching a Formula One race. Normally, the NASCAR stock car slows down the longer they run, but as the 18 continues to burn fuel off and his car gets lighter, we talk about how much grip these Goodyear tires have late into a run. Well, he continues to run lap times faster than those Penske cars that are out there on fresh tires. So you know this as well as I do. You see this every Sunday in Formula One. The 18 trying to make time right now, come to pit road and leapfrog those Penske cars.
Dave?
Junior Motorsports on pit road. The 1 as well as the 7 of Justin Allgaier. The key, wait on me. That's a crew chief telling the driver to wait until he sees that all the fuel is in the 7 car. Marty?
You see Erik Jones at the very first pit stall on pit road after Ryan Preece qualified on the pole last week at Iowa. He has that advantage this week and doing a nice job here today for Erik Jones, just trying to get some experience. He said, though, the last chassis adjustment said it made it way worse through the carousel and the S's, trying to free that car up for Erik Jones leaving pit road. Matt Tifft also on pit road. The Gibbs car is coming to pit road here as well. It's going to be 4 Goodyear tires for Matt Tifft, who's been struggling with a tight race car as well. And also William Byron going to come down pit road this time for the man who's won 3 races so far this year, Lee, in the Xfinity Series.
Marty, pit road violation to the 48 of Brennan Poole, who's carrying our NASCAR on NBC Helmet Cam. He'll have to serve that penalty. You saw it in non-stop. Now the race is really on between Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski. Dave Burns, tell us more.
And Lee, Kyle not only had a fast race car, he wanted a faster race car. He said the lateral grip for my race car comes in as the laps wind up, but I need a little bit more help for the restart. So they made a chassis adjustment to try to help that in case there is a late one, Marty.
Right behind him is Brad Keselowski trying to catch him. They were thinking they might cycle out closer to that 18 car. In fact, Greg Irwin said, hey, when they came off pit road, I want you to run as hard as you can. We are 3 laps to the good on fuel, so don't worry about that. They made up a little bit of time on the 18, but not as much as they would like. Further back in the field, William Byron did pit. You saw that in nonstop. Took on 4 fresh Goodyear tires. The young man doing a very nice job trying to keep it in the top 15 today. But this battle for the lead could get interesting, Lee.
Well, I think it's the opposite. The 22 was the leader before the cycle. They actually lost time to the 18. When the 22 pitted, he got tires first, which is normally an advantage. But like we mentioned, the 18 of Kyle Busch, what a job, Lee, of stretching his legs on that low fuel load. And basically, that pass for the lead right there, while it looked like it was off pit road, it was really those 4 or 5 laps before the pit stop. Very well executed.
Yeah, Steve, the whole deal there was the 18 was 1.2 seconds back, actually in 3rd place when the 22 pitted from the lead. So as you mentioned earlier, with the fuel burn and the tires being better on a longer run, Kyle Busch made up ground. So he was 1.2 seconds back when the 22 pitted, and now he's about 1.2 seconds in front.
And Jeff, those laps that he was turning, the 18 of Kyle Busch late in that run with a low fuel load was impressive. He was consistently half a second a lap faster than Keselowski, and right before he pitted, he stepped it up to a full second quicker than Keselowski on that run. That's what got him out in front.
That's absolutely what it took. He took fast laps, but another car making fast laps, that's 41 of Kevin Harvick. He has had a heck of a day. He's been backwards one time in turn 1, had a pit road penalty for 2 tires bouncing along, but here he is closing into the top 10, and you're going to watch his footwork right here. 2, 3, 4 pumps on the brake pedal, a couple taps on the throttle for the downshift. I love this shot right here, Lee. It just shows how much work it takes with the driver's feet.
Some of the best choreography you'll see. Who said there's no dancing in motorsport? And a big thanks to Hunt Brothers Pizza, Stuart Haas Racing, and of course Kevin Harvick himself for playing along with us and providing this foot cam.
Well, one thing that's fun to watch, right? There's 3 pedals there, but only 2 are working.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't need the clutch. Basically, these transmissions are designed where they can downshift and upshift just by matching RPMs. That's when you see his right foot, his gas foot, you see those little taps, those little blips that seem to make no sense. That allows him to shift gears.
Hey, Jeff Burton, when did you transition from right foot braking to left foot braking? How late in your career?
Oh, I started my career just left foot braking. These transmissions are not new technology. They've been around the Cup Series for a long time. I learned how to heel toe using the left foot on the clutch, but quickly, after one test session, got a better transmission and learned how to do this style. So Steve Letarte mentioned it. You can see as he, those taps on the throttle, those are getting the RPMs built so you can downshift. If you don't get those RPMs high enough by revving the engine up, it'll wheel hop get into turn 1.
Well, you see Kevin light it up off the final turn. Brendan Gaughan is the race leader, but he's due to pit one more time. You're watching NASCAR Xfinity Series racing from the legendary Watkins-Glen, presented by Shell Rotella. This is the 62 RCR Chevrolet of Brendan Gaughan. Dave, tell us more.
Coming to pit road right now, Lee. There's no way he could go to the end on fuel, so they'll come down, get their 4 fresh tires and a fill of Sunoco fuel to get him to the finish. Been an eventful day so far. Ran over equipment early. They had a long pit stop to put a replacement of spring rubbers and get that rear end in the track. It's better now for Brendan. The one thing he didn't get today, Lee, his wish. It's been dry.
Yeah. The Road America winner from 2014. With this event here at the Glen, the next event is at Mid-Ohio, then Bristol squeezed in the middle, and then the 4-mile monster at Road America. Brendan said, NASCAR has made August the best month ever.
I'm not sure what everybody is, if everyone's going to agree. Maybe these two right here at 18 of Kyle Busch. He seems to have got a good feeling about his car here at Watkins-Glen and basically just continues to stretch the lead a little bit over Brad Keselowski.
So we're going to continue to monitor the gap from the 18 back to the 22 over these final 21 laps. Let's take a look at today's Toyota driver update. And the race leader, JGR's Kyle Busch, Erik Jones, has had a very solid day. Dakota Armstrong and Matt Tifft. We reflect their respective positions.
Well, we haven't had a lot of time to talk about Erik Jones in that 20 because, you know, a good thing to say and a compliment is he hasn't made any highlight reels. He's just been kind of going about his business, getting laps, which is what he needs to do. You know, while tomorrow's race is only 8 laps longer than the Xfinity race, these Cup cars, I think, are going to be harder to drive with more power. So laps under his belt is the key today.
And the weather prediction for tomorrow is significantly warmer than today. It's quite cool here at the Glen, and there's a breeze making it that way as well. Let's eavesdrop some spotter communication involving the 22.
Just a 33's a lockup. Them laps behind those lap cars is what allowed Kyle to get in front of us, you know? Yeah, that and he was going faster on older tires.
He most certainly was, as we just said, to the tune of about a second, and that was spotter coverage presented by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less.
So you know what, Lee, you know this as well as I do. There's a lot of information a crew chief has to digest on when to come to pit road. It comes down to fuel, tires, lap time, car handling. But one thing that's hard to predict, but some teams have found better ways to do it than others, is lap traffic. And what I mean is the 22 of Brad Keselowski, they chose to pit, and as soon as they came off pit road, they were behind a gaggle of lap cars. They had to work their way through it. The 18, the opposite. He had clean track on old tires, and then off pit road had clean track once again. Marty?
And see, that clean road can mean everything when you're trying to battle for the win. They've told Brad just now, hey, go hard. See if you can go get that 18. If you don't feel like you can catch him, and he has cut into the lead just a little bit, if you don't feel like you can catch him, save tires here. Maybe we'll get a caution. Maybe we'll have better tires on that restart. But the one thing to keep in mind, it's going to be interesting to see, Steve, that 22 car has been the best car all day long on long runs. At the end of a run, they've been the best car, but we haven't seen him race straight up with Kyle Busch all day long. So I'm not sure if he can erase a 2-second gap or not, but I can tell you this, he's going to try.
Well, I'm not sure if he's the best car on long runs. He's been the best car we've seen.
Yes.
Remember the 18 at Kyle Busch, when it was time to get on old tires, he was back there. All the moves he was making was coming through the field.
Let's give a shout out to the 4 of Ross Chastain. Here he is here in the JD Motorsports Chev, and he's doing a good job. It's an interesting conversation point here because he is still in contention to make the playoffs. He's got a lot of work to do, but he's had a good run of top 20 finishes of late. He's just gathering points. And at the moment, Ross sits in 6th place. But here's the thing, Kelly. He last pitted on lap 42. Big question, can he go the distance?
Yeah, I think we expect him to make one more pit stop. He's had a couple of excellent finishes this year. 4th at Iowa, 6th at Daytona back in July. And Ross Chastain getting to restart behind all these Cup guys might be learning something. He's gotten into his rhythm, putting down his fastest lap of this race just a couple laps ago.
Time for some NASCAR non-stop. You won't miss anything. And we're into the final 18 laps here at the Glen. tomorrow, make sure you get your yard work done early, because at 3 o'clock Eastern, here on NBCSN, it's NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series racing from the Glen. The intensity will certainly pick up on this road course as the push to the playoffs continue. Qualifying and racing in the one day. It worked for this guy, Kyle Busch, last week at Pocono.
That's why I worked in racing so long, Lee. I've never been very good at yard work.
Dave Burns.
I like that, Steve. Hey, this 18 car has been fun to watch today with Kyle behind the wheel. Next week, it's Regan Smith at Mid-Ohio, former winner there. And then Christopher Bell will drive the car at Road America, so that'll be fun to see. And they should have confidence in the crew chief, Eric Phillips, who dialed this car in for Kyle. It was a little bit hard to handle in the highest speed portions, like right there where it's on the edge. It was a little too free for Kyle, and they got that right for today, Marty. They'll be good on fuel to the end.
Brad Keselowski trying to get his second Watkins-Glen win. If he's going to do it, he's going to have to erase that 2-second gap. All he hears on the radio is Joey Meyer giving him his lap times and then Kyle Busch's lap times. Last couple laps at 22 has indeed been faster, but that is a big gap he's got to make up if he wants to grab that win.
Marty, it's down to these two, as you said, 2 seconds. Take a look at what happened to Kyle Busch just a few moments ago, coming onto the front straight, just almost brushing that safer barrier out of turn 7 and onto the front stretch. 2.125 seconds is the margin between the 18 and the 22. Folks, we'll give you regular updates on that. 15 laps, now about to be 14 for Brad Keselowski to do something about it.
Well, I think the key is that lap traffic. You see a car in front of the 18, so while 2 seconds might seem like a lot, you see it right there on the racetrack. It's not as much as you think. One lap car in the wrong corner or up through the S's, where Bagley has already told us all day long how narrow it is climbing the hill.
What an impressive day, Stevie, for Kyle Busch. He's trying to score the spin and win here at the Glen. Spun early on down in turn number 1. As far as the S's are concerned, he's been flawless all day. Just negotiated the lap car of David Starr, and now as he swings onto the back straightaway, he doesn't have anybody to deal with. Brad Keselowski, 2+ seconds behind, he too, all by himself.
He may be, but I'm not convinced this is over. Just like Marty said, that 22 car has been very fast, just a little bit faster than the 18 at times. But one thing I'm seeing out of these two cars, you saw the 18 pushing the issue there, getting right up next to the safer barrier. Meanwhile, the 22, very tighty, looks to be protecting his stuff, taking care of that race car, and that is classic Brad Keselowski.
And you wonder how hard they are pushing. I was actually wondering how, these guys running as hard as they can, but then seeing Kyle Busch out by the wall that close, that led me to believe that they are pushing as hard as they can. If I'm Brad Keselowski, I think it's too far to catch. I just don't think you can run him down with that far back. I like the idea of, you know what, save some tires. When you get a chance, don't let Kyle Busch know you're saving tires, because then he'll start saving tires. But try to save a little bit of tire in case you get that late race restart.
Oh, the game is drivers play. And it's only a 10th here or a 10th there, Mike Bagley. But that margin now has gone out even further to 2.4 seconds.
Yeah, it is a race of tenths. And in the case of Brad Keselowski, it's not going in his favor. He's got to do something. I'm sure he's praying for a caution flag right now, because as we sit with 13 laps to go, looks like Kyle Busch has him and the rest of the field covered, or at least the front two has the rest of the field covered.
Well, that's such a thing about Brad Keselowski, though. This is what he loves to do. He doesn't like to go out there and just outrace other competitors. He likes to outthink them at times. And I think, Jeff, you are so right that he sees that gap too big. He's not going to be able to catch him here on the racetrack, so protect that race car. Take care of it in the event that he gets that caution.
Yeah, we talk about taking care of the car, protecting, but remember Kyle Busch early in the race, out with a big lead, wheel hopped it in turn 1 all by himself, so mistakes can be made, and I think that's the thing Keselowski has to do as he's trying to save tires, if he's trying to save tires, still do not push the car past his limit and hope Kyle Busch makes a mistake.
We talked a lot about these 2 Cup regulars that are trying to stretch their legs and go for the race win, but we talked to Justin Allgaier after stage 1. He finished that in the 5th position, currently in the 6th position, Lee.
Doing a really wonderful job. And this is the rebound, if you want to badge it as that the 7 team from Junior Motorsports needed last weekend. There was a strategy call made at Pocono, could have gone their way, and it would have been a hero call. It didn't, unfortunately, go their way.
Hey, guys, we got trouble here. Sorry, we have the 11 car that just got in the 90 and spun him out here down in the carousel.
So Blake Cook and Brian Henderson involved in an incident at the carousel.
Keep coming, buddy, keep coming. You're all good out the
come back.
No caution flying at the moment, and it may not.
But that's the new Watkins-Glen.
Yeah.
Years ago, the 90 would have been in the gravel pit. That would have been a caution to allow Keselowski to close up on the rear bumper of Kyle Busch, as you see going around right there. Here's a replay. Started a little late, but I think
Steve,
we can guess what happened there.
I know Henderson was on cold tires because they just pushed that car back to the garage, and he had just re-entered the track. So he could have been very slow for that reason.
And remember, guys, in 7 of the last 12 races here, the final green stretch was 6 laps or less, so it wouldn't be uncommon.
Oh, guys, we got trouble again here in the interloop. The 8 car just got spun by the 19 of Matt Tifft. He's sitting down there. There's a lot of going down here. These guys are getting very aggressive with the lappers.
Josh Bilicki in the 8. So, in the closing 12 laps, this thing is starting to unravel. And Bilicki's able to get the 8 going again. What happened? Let's have a look. Ooh. Matt Tifft in the 19. And Josh Bilicki. 2 into 1. Doesn't go.
That's narrow enough for one car.
Exactly.
And guys, now the leaders are having to stay to one side of the track or the other to avoid grass from these incidents, and could fill up their openings on the front and heat up the cars.
And the big winner out of all of this, these skirmishes, look at it, you can see it. The 22 of Keselowski has brought that down to 0.5 of a second. He's gaining ground on the 18, but is it for real? Welcome back. Xfinity Series Racing from Watkins-Glen, presented by Shell Rotella. Looking at race leader in the 18, Kyle Busch. And speaking of NASCAR Xfinity Series Racing, if you like what you see here today, the road course theme continues because Mid-Ohio is next. And that race coverage begins at 3:30 p.m. Eastern next Saturday on NBCSN. Hey, speaking of racing, it's happening in London. And Usain Bolt, the track and field, the sprinting legend, runs and races for the last time in the 100 meters. That's coming up at 4:45 this afternoon. So in about half an hour's time over on NBC. It's an historic moment for a legendary athlete, an Olympian. who just did stuff on the track, Steve, that nobody else did.
Oh, I watched his heat yesterday from London and didn't get out of the blocks very good, but Otto Bolden told me, just be patient, wait. About 2/3 of the way down the track, he just accelerates to the finish line.
Did you see the press conference when everyone arrived in London and a journalist asked him, what if you don't win your final 100-meter event? He said, yeah, that's not going to happen. As we get back to the racing here at Hand and Erik Jones in the 20 for Joe Gibbs Racing. As Steve Letarte mentioned earlier, just a really solid, clean day. Look at the race car. Beautiful. And he's running in the top 5 ahead of Paul Menard, who enjoyed his time in the lead for some 22 laps. We promised you we'd keep you up to date with the lead advantage of Kyle Busch, and it is 1.7 seconds. Last time round as Keselowski tries to clear the traffic, Parker Kligerman coming into the inner loop.
Yeah, you got Casey Mears who just jumped in the grass there. They're going too wide in there. They all seem to sort it out somehow. I'm not sure exactly how they were all able to get through there, but he clears the traffic and now has the 18 car ahead of him. As you see, Casey Mears is going to roll through the bus stop there, take a stop, and then continue going, which you got to do to not get a penalty.
Yeah, that was chaos there for a little bit. I thought Casey may bring the caution out, but he did seem to get rolling. That's what Kyle Busch wanted to see. He certainly did not want to see a caution right there. With no caution, it'll be very difficult to beat.
Yeah, guys, and right now we got the 98 here. He seems to be just very slow right now, and if he ends up stopping here at this point in the racetrack, this could definitely cause a caution right here.
For the 98, Casey Mears saying that he is out of fuel on the 98.
Last time Casey stopped was lap 45.
And if he is out of fuel, he will not make it back. He has a long way to go. He just now left the carousel. It's a long back straightaway. It's downhill on the exit of that carousel, but once he leaves there, it's no longer downhill. He may can find a way off the racetrack, but if not, they'll have to throw the caution.
That traffic was very costly for Brad Keselowski. The deficit now 2.5 seconds. It's blown back out, and we got caution. Late race caution with 6 to go. Make it even 5.5 laps, and it is for the stranded car of Casey Mears. It's in a very precarious position exiting the carousel.
And that's a tough decision for Casey. He knows he's out of gas, but he has a responsibility to his team, to his sponsor, to try to get back to pit road. If it only needs fuel, get refired to complete the race. There were a couple bailout areas to go down into the boot, the part of the racetrack that we don't see run in the Xfinity Series. But if he commits to that, he's going to just sit there for the final 6 laps.
So 5th caution of the day for the Geico 98 of Casey Mears. This is going to make things interesting. Now we don't have to talk about that 1.5, 1.7, 2.1, now 2.5 second, what it was last time, gap between the 18 and the 22. It'll be a head-to-head fight here. We'll see what the Team Penske driver has, if anything, for Kyle Busch.
And what lane will Kyle Busch pick? We saw Kyle Busch pick the outside lane earlier in the race, but do you dare do that? With the battle for the lead with only a few laps left, do you dare give the second place guy the inside of on this restart?
The real question is, Jeff, do you think that it matters where Keselowski lines up relative to his teammate, Joey Logano? Joey Logano in the 3rd position will be the inside of the 2nd row. That's the right-hand side here at Watkins-Glen. So if you're Kyle Busch and you choose the left, you're putting Keselowski in front of his teammate. These cars, they still have a little bit of a restrictor plate, still are restricted on horsepower, Jeff. Do you feel teammates being nose to tail would be an advantage for the 2 Penske cars?
Well, there is no doubt in the Xfinity Series we've seen race after race. What helps the leader, the eventual guy that gets the lead, is the guy behind him pushing. Who is the best pusher? So, yeah, Steve, I think that does come into play. It'd be very difficult on a road course, on a high braking corner, 90 degrees, to give the second place guy an opportunity to door you, to move you out of the way to take the lead. It's going to be a tough call to take that outside lane.
There's no doubt about that, Jeff, and I wondered, that outside lane, it's shown to be very competitive. You can squeeze that guy on the inside down, but also to look back at Joe Logano, who's been more than 20 seconds back through most of this run. He actually came across the radio and said, I've been waiting for this caution. I'm milking the dog. So I think you got to look at where he is as well to say he could definitely make a run at the 18 here if he can move him out of the way.
Yeah, and Parker, remember the 41 and 00 teammates. one of the best road racers we have, trying to make the bottom work. The back end came around. Kevin Harvick got into his teammates, so things can happen on these late race restarts. Dave.
And Jeff, that, as they say, changes everything for the 18 group. But Erik's just smiling. He knows his driver has it well in hand. The big question we've been debating is what lane does he choose to restart this thing?
I don't know on that one. We've been good on both of them. We got around the 12 there on the beginning on the outside, so we'll let him pick that. Haven't really talked about it. Just got to make no mistakes. We were kind of riding there, so hopefully we were saving more than we know, and kind of get that NOS Camry in victory lane here. Means a lot to us. Never get a win. He's never won. Gibbs has never won here, so I think we're in a good spot. We pitted later. We got newer tires, and our Camry is really fast. We were just kind of riding there, just trying to match with Brad. There's going to be a caution. We're road racing. These guys up here are like, no caution, no caution. I knew it was coming. I just didn't know when it was. Sounds like they ran out of gas, which really stinks, because the thing probably be over right now and we'd be in victory lane. But we'll put on a show for everybody watching on their XFINITY X1 apps and see if we can get to victory lane.
All right, thanks, man. Marty, what's the 22 story?
Well, let's chat with Greg Irwin, who just finished chatting with Brad Keselowski. How do you feel about your chances here straight up against the 18?
I feel better now that we're going to be starting right next to him. I know the 12 had their problem on pit road there, so this is going to be crazy. You watch what happened in the Cup race last year. Brad and Kyle driving down into turn 1 together. They're going to have a lot of fun, and Joey's going to stick his nose in there because now he's got a shot. But real proud of what we've been able to do again here with our Penske Mustangs, and glad to have Rev on board. That's going to be the best seat in the house down there in another couple minutes.
And as you can hear, Lee, some pit stops happening, including William Byron and a host of other cars coming down pit road here. They think tires might matter here for this final restart. That's going to make things even more interesting.
And Steve, the number 7 of Justin Allgaier will be one to watch.
Well, we talked about the pace that Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski were putting onto this field and how many cars were a lap down, and there's only 17 cars in the lead lap. So while the leaders, it was a very easy decision to stay on the racetrack, Allgaier was kind of stuck in that quandary in the 6th, 7th position, 8th, 9th position. When do you come? Do you come get fresh tires? So he chose to pit. It'll be interesting to see when this cycles out where he will restart. This is a wide racetrack with a lot of runoff room in certain areas. Not wide up through the S's, but, the carousel has some width. Some of these corners, there's some room to go. It'll be interesting to see if fresh tires do have any extra speed for that 7 car that you mentioned.
What an eventful day for Kevin Harvick. We switch to the Ford Performance view here of Brad Keselowski. Has he got something for Kyle Busch is the question that we're going to get answered here real soon. And let's remind ourselves, Kyle Busch, under no immediate pressure, earlier in the race, while leading, wheel hopped the 18 and spun. An unforced error. This is a lot more pressure-packed, pressure cooker situation than that earlier in the race. And you heard Eric Phillips mention a really substantial point. Joe Gibbs Racing as an organization and Kyle Busch have never won an Xfinity Series competition at this racetrack, and that's huge. Last week at Pocono, Kyle checked another one off the list as far as his Cup career is concerned. Well, the same over here on the Xfinity side. There are only 2 tracks remaining that Busch has never won in Xfinity Series competition, here at the Glen and Pocono, so he may just be able to check another one off. Jeff?
Hey, Diffie, remember 6 of Brad K's 35 wins have come passing Busch for the win. Twice of those have been on the last lap, so we've been in this position before.
Is this what's called drama building, Jeff?
Oh, yeah. This is the part of the race we all love right here, ladies.
Well, Jeff, you asked where the 18 of Kyle Busch would restart. Well, he's decided he will start driver's right, which is the inside for turn 1. Split up the 2 Penske cars. That will put the 12 of Joey Logano right out of his rear bumper.
Throughout the course of this race, the 22, Brad Keselowski, has been very good on restarts as we enter the Geico restart zone, and B, he's been very good on the outside line through 1. By the time we get to Mike Bagley in 2 and climbing up the S's, how will this look? Kyle Busch goes. Great restart from the 18. He's left the 22 and the 12 behind. Logano on the inside of his teammate now. This is not what Keselowski needs. And remember, Joey Logano, not out of this yet. He's looking for his 3rd Xfinity Series win in a row.
Kyle Busch getting away with the lead. The battle is for the number 2 position with teammates. Keselowski will slide through. He'll go to 2nd. Logano now will go to 3rd. Paul Menard is up to 4th. And Kevin Harvick is back on the scene. They are stacked up from 5th on back. jostling for that run into the bus stop.
Looks like Logano maybe let Brad get away with it there through the S's, knowing if they let the 18 get too far ahead, they'll never catch him at this point. So he's got to size up that 22 and make sure if he's going to make a pass, it's got to be quick. We saw him earlier in the race get a good run on the 22 out of the carousel, but he's not quite able to do it this time, guys.
And these two teammates have to battle as if it's for the lead. You have to hope Kyle Busch has a problem, so they have to race each other hard. You have to try to be in second place. Kyle Busch is gone, but trying to be in second in case a problem happens.
Busch loves this battle of the Penske teammates as they contend for the position, for the second position. That helps the 18 stretch his lead and coming to just 2 to go.
Keselowski defends, making life a little more difficult on his Team Penske teammate. 1 second is the distance and is the time between first and second. Can Keselowski do that? Logano on the inside, Mike.
Trying to squeeze down in trouble in turn 1. Ryan Sieg now will slide off the course. He and Blake Cook come to grief as the battle is for second. It's Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano. Logano giving all Keselowski can stand. Racing off turn 4 and up the back straightaway.
Did you see the 22 of Keselowski get loose there, Parker?
I did, and that allowed Logano to get by him. He got him up onto his rear spoiler, took the air off that spoiler, and got him that loose to make that pass down the inner loop, and now he's driving away from the 22 as they come off the carousel. He's about a second back from Kyle Busch. Can he catch him?
And now he's got to defend from Paul Menard. Paul Menard's keeping pressure on these guys as well. So you saw how loose Keselowski got him. The momentum it lost him. Joey Logano doing a great job of pushing that issue at the right time. Keselowski had no choice but to give, getting it in their loop.
Out of turn 7 to see the white flag. 1 lap to go. Sponsored by Credit One Bank. Whoa, big incident, turn 7. Coming on, that's Brennan Poole. The Ganassi driver, what has happened? Damage on the rear of the car. He's able to fire the 48 and continue.
As he continues on, Kyle Busch continues to pull away. Off turn 4 for the final time. Kyle Busch blowing them all out of the water here today in Watkins-Glen, setting up for his final run through the bus stop.
That he is. He's going to have to negotiate past a little bit of debris here as he has a slow car of Ryan Sieg, the 39 that he's going to catch when he gets around to the other side of the carousel here. Hopefully be able to negotiate that with no problem as he coming to the exit. You see the 39 of Ryan Sieg has a tire coming apart, but it'll be no problem for Kyle Busch. He goes right around him.
Yeah, no problem at all. Kyle Busch now quite simply has to just make 2 corners. Don't make any mistakes. Drive in the corner easy, accelerate hard. It's not about lap time anymore. It's just about getting to the start-finish line.
Danny Sullivan owns the phrase spin and win, but that applies to Kyle Busch. He's never won here in Xfinity Series competition at Watkins-Glen. Guess what? He has now. The 18 goes to victory lane.
Watkins-Glen.
Rowdy has finally done it. So check Pocono off the Cup list last week. Checks the Glen off the Xfinity list.
JTR finally got this one on the Xfinity side. Good job, guys. Thank you.
And you heard the radio call there. JGR finally gets it. That's the 139th career win for the organization, breaking a tie with Roush Fenway for the most all-time. It's not just a big day for Kyle Busch, it's huge for Coach Gibbs.
Yeah, it's a big day for the organization, and you know, you have to wonder, will this sort of momentum carry over to the Cup side? You hear how excited Kyle Busch is. There was opportunity for things to go wrong. That final restart, so many things had to go right. Kyle Busch had to execute. He did it, did a very nice job, and when it mattered most, seemed to have the best car. He could drive away from the Penske teammates.
And it all came down to that final restart. He got a flyer.
And he did. He accelerated very, very well and cleared basically both cars going into turn 1, which I think was the key. Then he had the entire racetrack to use. He could then focus on his driving line, his braking zones. But as you mentioned, wheel hop by himself early in the race going into turn 1. That perhaps was just a good reminder. You called this live when it happened, Lee, the 48 of Brennan Poole. A hard impact into the outside safer barrier on the exterior of turn 7.
Here's the helmet cam view. Have a listen.
Sounds like it looks like the 00 of Cole Custer was behind him. Must have been some contact.
Steve, you can't speak as a driver, but you can as a renowned and legendary crew chief. What's it like when you get one off the list, where one has been a victory at a track, has been eluding you for so long?
Well, it just reminds the organization, even yourself. You start to lose confidence as a crew chief when you can't seem to get a win that you think the team deserves. When you have fast race cars, when you have talent like Kyle Busch behind the wheel, you want to deliver. And I think the whole organization wanted to deliver. And like I said, it wasn't just a dry spell in Xfinity Cup as well. So now the Joe Gibbs Racing organization can check this one off the list. Kyle Busch, you see the excitement. This is an Xfinity race, and you see the burnout. This young man, he likes to win.
This is a big one. You heard the radio. Finally won at the Glen. This could be ominous for tomorrow.
It is, but he still has to execute. Right now, he can enjoy this one, and it looks like he's going to. Recovery too.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't easy. He didn't run up front all day long. Had to go to the back.
There was one of those restarts after he spun, went back. He was 28th and he drove his way to 4th. That was big. Here's Rutledge Wood. Rut.
With that win, number 90 for Kyle Busch, and his first one here at Watkins-Glen in the Xfinity Series car. You spun, you got back in it, you stayed there, you picked up the win. How good does that feel right now?
Just finally being able to win here at Watkins-Glen in the Xfinity Series is one of the boxes we've been meaning to check off for a long, long time. So this feels good. It feels good in front of this crowd. The crowd's awesome here in Watkins-Glen. Fans here really support their racetrack, really support their racing, so it's fun to see. Tomorrow I'm hearing it's a sellout, so that's awesome. Congratulations to the staff here at the track. But just an awesome car. I can't say enough about Eric Phillips and all my guys. They did a great job giving me everything I needed to go out there. I tried to screw it up a couple times, but thankfully I brought it back and we were able to get up front there, and the pit strategy worked to our advantage.
The burnout down there in turn 1 for all those fans. How much do these fans up here in the north mean to you guys?
They mean a lot, you know. I mean, anywhere we go, the fans mean everything to us. But you know, up here at Watkins-Glen, they really support their racing. You can tell by the infield packed and all the camping and everything that goes on here, and some of the concerts. We've seen that last week at Pocono, this week at Watkins-Glen. Racetracks are starting to get it right, and the fans are coming to support that, so we appreciate it.
Congratulations. We'll see you in victory lane.
Thank you.
Steve, you mentioned it. Look at the burnout and look at the excitement, and
that was wonderful.
I mean, that means a lot. That means a lot to Kyle Busch. Things are going to get rowdy in victory lane. We'll head there when we come back. As we welcome you back to the Glen, need to remind you that in about 10 minutes' time, this man here, the greatest sprinter of all time, Usain Bolt, runs the 100 meters for the final time. That's at 4:45 Eastern on NBC. You can see the great man run for the final time in the 100 meters. Well, it's not the warmest day here at the Glen. Quite cool with a breeze. That was a very impressive performance from the 18 of Kyle Busch. Would you agree, Dave Burns?
I would indeed, Lee. And as Kyle gets ready for the traditional victory lane celebration, car in gear, Brexton goes to see what Daddy's just done. he's just within NOS shot here, and he might have gotten a little bit on him. Go see Dad. Here he goes. Come on. That. Oh, best high five. It was a low five, but best five of the day. And on a day when you got rid of some things, set some records for yourself, and maybe learn some things, a mistake early, what does that do to you, and how do you get over that?
You just got to get through it, you know, but unfortunately I screwed up early, and I got us behind, but the guys gave me such an awesome race car that we could make it back up, and we were able to do that today. So this NOS energy drink, Rowdy flavor Camry was awesome today, and this Toyota Camry drove really good. Guys had awesome brakes on the car. The tires were pretty good as well too. You know, I thought I flat spotted them a couple times, and they held throughout the run, so that was cool. And then, you know, we just want to thank the fans. Of course, they're great. They support the racing up here. Fans on TV, thanks for watching, of course. And you know, DBX Sunglasses, Cessna, XFINITY, we appreciate them and giving us the Stream app. You know, it's a lot of fun to watch these races from as well too when you're out and doing about.
How about 2 in a row for tomorrow? Is that a potential here?
Certainly is. You know, I think so. Our cars have been really fast this weekend. I don't know if I'm just in the groove or what, but feels pretty good. You know, the cars have really been working for me here, and it just feels so good to finally win this in the XFINITY race here. We've been so close so many times, and one of my favorite runs here was in the Zippo car, you know, and being the Zippo race today, that's kind of ironic. I guess they sponsor it every year, but being with Eddie DeHaan and the Zippo car, I remember we were really, really fast and wish we would have got it done on that one, but we got it done here today. So this group of guys is awesome, and they did everything there for me today. And pit road was pretty good for us. We stayed out long on that one run, and we were able to cycle back up to the lead. So worked 2 weeks in a row that way. I don't know how much longer we can do that before they figure it out, but it's been working for us, so we'll take it.
Nice to hear that emotion out of Kyle in victory lane here in Lee. Sometimes you just find that sweet spot. Sounds like he's got it right now.
Yeah, he's had 10 career weekend sweeps, Steve, of XFINITY and Cup competition. What's your gut tell you about tomorrow?
Well, I think he is definitely one of the favorites. He showed a lot of pace in practice. Qualifying will be tomorrow morning. We'll have to see where he qualifies in his Cup car. But what I really liked about that entire interview was a little bit of emotion. You didn't see a tremendous, he wasn't breaking down in tears, but he talked about from the heart how much it meant to finally win at this racetrack. I know people don't love to see him in these XFINITY races because he does win a lot, but what I saw right there, it doesn't matter that he had won 89 other times. This 90th victory still meant a lot to him. Yeah. He can remember back to the days, that car he references, that's before Joe Gibbs Racing, before Hendrick Motorsports, way back in early parts of his career, a race that he felt just got away from him. To think after 90 wins to still remember the one he lost meant a lot to me to hear out of the driver of the 18.
One of the headlines coming into today's race was, could Joey Logano win from pole position for the 3rd consecutive year? He got the pole, Marty, but unfortunately the win eluded him.
Well, Joey Logano chatting it over with Brian Wilson, and you got the restart there. You said, I've been saving my stuff. Do you think you had a shot at the 18 there on that final restart?
Yeah, I ran that whole last run, you know, maybe 70%, just trying to save something to race with, and man, I thought I was going to have something, but the 18 had such a good restart. To get through the gears is just better than us. And he was able to get himself ahead enough. And then I had such a short run car, I was able to get by the 22, but by the time I got by him, I needed one more restart because 18 was maybe a little too far ahead of me at that point. So so close for that 3 in a row at the Snap-on Mustang, but you know, overall, starting first, finish second. Second hurts a little bit, but I learned some things for tomorrow, which is important, and you know, we'll go at it again.
I know you told me that it's not the win, which is obviously what you wanted, but you told me earlier in the day today's about building confidence. Did you build a little bit for tomorrow?
Oh yeah, of course. Anytime you can run these things and you can kind of, you know, race up there for the win and stuff like that, it's yeah, it feels like the old days again. So that's a nice little confidence builder for me, for our pit crew, for everybody, just to be up there. And you know, I think I got a good car tomorrow that we can do something similar with. So just a good day overall to you know, keep the momentum rolling.
Confidence building, 2nd place finish for Joey Logano today.
Justin Allgaier brings home the 7 car, 4th today. You had fresh tires there at the end. What was it like coming through the field on that late restart?
Honestly, we just got held up a little bit too much on that last race start. But Jason Burdett and the boys on this brand Professional Agriculture Chevy did a great job all day. We had speed. We weren't quite as good as the Penske cars or Kyle, but felt like we had a top 5 car all day, and that call at the end, as soon as he started talking about it, I was on board with it. But hats off to the pit crew. They did a great job today. This whole team just absolutely flawless. We got another road course next week, so that's good. So hopefully all the fans at home enjoyed watching on the Xfinity X1 service, and we'll keep plugging along. You know, we've had a bad month, and we needed some points. We needed some good finishes, so hopefully this is the momentum we need.
Yeah, this was certainly a good turnaround for this team. How big is this, big picture, top Xfinity regular?
Oh, it's huge. Anytime you can do that, it's huge. But I think just for us, kind of riding that ship and getting that momentum, we're coming into the playoff time, and we need to make sure that we're firing on all 8 cylinders. And today was a really good step forward in doing that.
All right, great job.
Thank you.
Well, it looked like that caution was exactly what the doctor ordered for Brad Keselowski. You got the shot at the restart. What happened on the restart?
Oh, yeah. We were kind of racing for first in class, Joey and I were. The Toyotas in all 3 series, they just have so much more power and aero than everybody else that it's like 2 different races. So, yeah, I was going to need a lot more than a yellow. I was going to need some parity in the series, but we gave it all we had, and I'm proud to have a great effort today. And it's fun racing my teammate Joe Logano with the Rev Mustang, and hopefully we can find a little bit more tomorrow.
I know it's frustrating trying to catch the 18 there, but were you thinking, hey, I've been better on longer runs all day long, I might have a chance to get him even under green?
Yeah, you're just hoping for a break. I think you saw it earlier. He spun out on his own, so things can happen like that. But the reality is those cars are so much faster than the Fords and the Chevys that it's not just us; it's everybody else in all 3 series are kind of racing for second in class.
All right, Brad Keselowski with some candid thoughts there about where things are in the series right now. He winds up 3rd today.
Steve will talk more about that. I want to get your reaction to Keselowski's comments in just a moment. But folks, reminding you, Usain Bolt running for the final time in London in the World Track and Field Championships. 4:45 over on NBC. Don't miss it. The big man's having one last run.
He sings, he dances.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And how did you find Brad Keselowski's comments about the parity in the series and an alleged Toyota advantage? What do you say to that?
Well, I think as a race car driver, he has every right to his opinion. The part I struggle with is while Kyle Busch in a Toyota is sitting in victory lane, Erik Jones is in 8th, the next Toyota's in 13th. So, 6 cars beat the 2nd place Toyota. So I understand his frustration. And same thing on Sunday. The 18 of Kyle Busch and 78 of Martin Truex Jr. has seemed to had a lot of speed of late, but there are other very talented race car drivers in a Toyota. Matt Kenseth comes to mind. Yep. Denny Hamlin comes to mind. So, I think it's a fair argument if he feels there's an advantage, but I think that it's not quite as clear as just a singular manufacturer. I think that Joe Gibbs Racing and Kyle Busch have a nice package. The 78 of Martin Truex Jr. on Sundays have a good package. I mean, this man's won 90 Xfinity races. So while I want to applaud Toyota and their effort, I also am not willing to put that trophy purely on Toyota's shelf. They are without a huge player, but they are one of many players that make this 18 car go around.
And a reminder, we are with you here from the Glen for another quarter of an hour or so till 5 p.m. Eastern with plenty more post-race coverage, a day where Rowdy finally won at the Glen.